Long before satellites mapped the Earth and algorithms measured our world, something else was at work. Buried beneath deserts, jungles, and oceans lie structures that defy the limits of their time. Stones cut with impossible precision, cities aligned to stars, technologies with no clear origin. Were these accidents of genius, or traces of knowledge we no longer possess? Each discovery raises uncomfortable questions about who we are and how much we've forgotten. Tonight, we descend into the evidence itself, artifacts, ruins, and records that challenge our assumptions, and ask one simple question: what if our past was advanced than we dare to imagine? High on a limestone hill just outside the ancient capital of Cusco, Qenqo rests quietly in the Andean air. The landscape is stark yet deliberate. Weathered rock shaped into channels, steps, and carved surfaces that seem to follow an internal logic rather than simple decoration. From a distance, the site appears almost natural, as if the mountain itself had been gently persuaded into form. Only when one moves closer does the intention become clear. This place was worked, studied, and used with care. Archaeologists generally identify Qenqo as a ceremonial complex from the Inca period, likely dedicated to ritual practices tied to astronomy, religion, or funerary rites. The name Qenqo, meaning zigzag or labyrinth in Quechua, refers to the winding channels carved into the stone, grooves that once carried liquid, perhaps chicha, water, or blood from sacrificial offerings. These channels converge with striking precision, suggesting an understanding of flow and gravity that goes beyond the purely symbolic. At the heart of the site is a massive carved rock, its surface shaped into angular planes and narrow passageways. Beneath it lies a small enclosed chamber, often described as an altar or ritual room. The space is tight, dim, and acoustically unusual. Even a soft sound can echo unnaturally, amplified by the stone. Was this intentional? Some researchers believe the chamber was used for mummification rituals or ancestor veneration, practices well documented in Inca culture. Others point to the chamber's sensory effects, light, sound, confinement, and suggest it may have played a role in altered states of awareness during ceremonies. Mainstream archaeology frames Qenqo within known Inca religious traditions. The Incas viewed stone as sacred, alive with spiritual force. Carving directly into bedrock was not merely practical, it was devotional. Sites like Qenqo may have been huacas, holy places where the physical and spiritual worlds intersected. The careful alignment of certain features with seasonal sunlight supports this view, linking the site to solar worship and calendrical observation. Yet some aspects of Qenqo remain difficult to fully explain. The precision of the stonework, achieved without iron tools, continues to raise questions. The angles are sharp, the surface is smooth, and the geometry consistent across the site. Experimental archaeology shows that such work is possible with stone tools and patience, but the scale and uniformity still invite scrutiny. How much time did this take, and what level of specialized knowledge was required? Beyond academic interpretations, more speculative theories have emerged over time. Some propose that Qenqo functioned as an energy center, designed to channel natural forces within the earth. Others point to the site's unusual acoustics and claim it was used for sound-based rituals or healing practices. There are even fringe suggestions that Qenqo preserves remnants of a pre-Inca civilization, one whose knowledge was inherited rather than invented by the Incas themselves. These ideas remain unproven, but they persist, perhaps because the site itself resists simple explanations. Standing at Qenqo today, one senses that it was meant to be experienced, not merely observed. The narrow paths guide movement. The carved stone directs attention. Light and shadow shift meaningfully throughout the day. Nothing feels random, and yet no single interpretation fully accounts for every feature. Was Qenqo primarily a place of worship, a ceremonial theater, a calendrical device, or something more subtle that no longer fits our categories? As erosion slowly softens its edges and time distances us further from its builders, the site continues to ask questions without offering answers. And somewhere within its carved stone, it seems possible that parts of its purpose are still waiting to be understood. From the carved stone of the Andes, where purpose still feels just out of reach, our journey now shifts continents, but not themes. The questions raised at Qenqo linger as we arrive in a very different landscape, one shaped by sand, silence, and an unfinished ambition. On the western edge of the Nile Valley, between Giza and Saqqara, lies a place rarely shown, seldom discussed, and largely inaccessible: Zawyet el-Aryan. Here, the desert stretches flat and pale, broken only by low stone outlines and a single massive pit cut deep into the bedrock. At first glance, it appears unremarkable, certainly nothing like the towering pyramids nearby. But this site was never meant to be seen this way. What remains is not a monument completed, but a moment frozen in construction, abandoned before its purpose was fully realized. Zawyet el-Aryan is home to what is commonly called the unfinished pyramid. Most scholars associate it with Egypt's 3rd or 4th dynasty, a formative period when pyramid design was still evolving. Unlike later pyramids that rise visibly from the ground, this structure begins below the surface. A vast rectangular trench, over 25 meters long and cut with astonishing precision, marks the foundation. Its sides are straight, smooth, and sharply defined, as if carved with tools far more advanced than copper chisels and stone pounders traditionally attributed to the period. At the base of this pit lies the most enigmatic feature of all, a gigantic granite sarcophagus, partially embedded in the floor. It weighs an estimated 40 tons and was placed here before the surrounding pyramid was built, suggesting careful planning and logistical coordination. The granite itself originated hundreds of kilometers away in Aswan. How it was transported, lowered, and positioned with such accuracy remains a matter of debate. Mainstream archaeology offers a cautious explanation. The pyramid, they suggest, was begun for a pharaoh whose reign ended unexpectedly, perhaps due to death or political upheaval. Construction halted, resources were redirected, and the site was abandoned. Egypt is known to contain several unfinished monuments, and in this context, Zawyet el-Aryan fits within an established pattern. Yet certain details resist easy comparison. The scale of the excavation is extreme, even by Old Kingdom standards. Cutting such a pit into solid limestone would have required immense labor and time, raising the question, why invest so heavily in a project that might never be completed? And why place the sarcophagus before the pyramid superstructure existed, exposing it to potential damage or theft? The stonework itself invites closer scrutiny. The surfaces inside the pit show signs of fine dressing, not rough quarry marks. Corners meet at near-perfect right angles. There is little evidence of trial and error construction. Everything suggests confidence, an understanding of geometry, leveling, and planning that appears fully formed rather than experimental. There is also the matter of absence. Unlike other royal pyramid complexes, Zawyet el-Aryan lacks clear inscriptions, reliefs, or definitive markers identifying its owner. This silence has fueled speculation. Some researchers propose that the site predates the dynastic period, later repurposed or misunderstood by early Egyptians. Others wonder if it represents a transitional or alternative architectural tradition that was ultimately abandoned. More speculative interpretations go further, questioning whether the purpose of the structure was purely funerary. The subterranean focus, the oversized sarcophagus and the lack of surrounding temple infrastructure have led some to suggest non-traditional uses, symbolic, ceremonial, or even functional in ways we no longer recognize. Could this have been a prototype, a test site, or something designed for reasons outside the conventional narrative of royal burial? There are also unanswered questions about technique. The precision seen in the granite work rivals that of the Great Pyramid's internal chambers, yet this site lacks the refinement of later projects. Was knowledge gained here and applied elsewhere? Or does this represent a level of capability that we have underestimated or misunderstood? Adding to the mystery is the site's modern obscurity. Large portions of Zawyet el-Aryan are restricted due to nearby military zones. Systematic excavation has been limited. Detailed surveys are scarce. For a structure that could offer insight into the evolution of pyramid construction, it remains surprisingly underexplored. Standing at the edge of the pit today, one is struck not by grandeur, but by intention interrupted. The monument does not tell a complete story. Instead, it offers fragments, precision without explanation, effort without outcome, ambition without resolution. It feels less like a ruin and more like a paused sentence in stone. If the Great Pyramids represent the culmination of ancient Egyptian engineering, then Zawyet el-Aryan may represent a crossroads, a moment where multiple possibilities existed, and only some were chosen. The rest were left behind, buried beneath sand and silence. And so the question remains, was this pyramid unfinished because it failed, or because it had already served its purpose? Until the site is fully studied, and its stone allowed to speak more freely, Zawyet el-Aryan stands as a reminder that even in a civilization famous for permanence, some of the most intriguing mysteries lie in what was never completed. From the desert sands of Egypt, where ambition once paused in stone, our journey now sweeps across continents once more, tracing the echoes of monumental construction and human ingenuity. If Zawyet el-Aryan speaks in muted questions of abandonment and unfinished purpose, the Medracen rises in contrast, a structure of completion that still conceals as much as it reveals. Perched on a gentle hill near Batna in modern-day Algeria, this massive mausoleum commands the surrounding landscape, its circular form both simple and enigmatic, inviting the observer to walk around it, to measure it, to imagine its creation. The Medracen, often referred to as the Royal Mausoleum of Mauritania, is a vast cylinder of stone, its diameter stretching over 40 meters, capped with a flat platform that once may have supported statues or ceremonial features. Its walls are composed of enormous blocks of limestone, quarried and transported with a precision that seems almost effortless. From a distance, it appears deceptively straightforward, a geometric statement in the open air. Yet, as one approaches, the scale becomes overwhelming. The weight of the stones, the smoothness of the assembly, the perfect circular alignment, all suggest careful planning and a mastery of techniques that challenge our understanding of the era. Historians generally attribute the mausoleum to King Juba II and Queen Cleopatra Selene II, ruling in the 1st century BCE, a period when Mauritania stood as a kingdom under Roman influence, yet retaining its own local identity. Coins, inscriptions, and scattered records support this attribution, indicating that the structure functioned as a royal tomb, a statement of power and permanence. Archaeological evidence suggests that the interior once housed burial chambers and sarcophagi, though centuries of looting and decay have left much of this space obscured. Even within this conventional framework, the Medracen raises questions that defy easy answers. The sheer volume of stone used in the mausoleum's construction is staggering. Each block would weigh several tons, yet they fit together without the visible mortar or crude joins often seen in contemporary masonry. How did workers achieve such precise placement with the tools available at the time? How did they transport the stones from distant quarries, possibly hundreds of kilometers away, up the hill without modern machinery? Mainstream explanations suggest a combination of ramps, levers, and sheer manpower, strategies well documented in other ancient structures. Yet the Medracen differs from many of its contemporaries. Its circular design is unusual, particularly for North Africa in this period, where rectangular tombs dominated. Could the shape have held symbolic significance, a reflection of celestial cycles, a statement about eternity, or perhaps an attempt to emulate earlier, lost traditions of monumental round tombs? Beyond its geometry, the Medracen is notable for the precision of its craftsmanship. The limestone surfaces are exceptionally flat, the joints nearly invisible. Even today, after 2 millennia of erosion, the circular outline is remarkably consistent. Some researchers have suggested that this level of precision may indicate the use of advanced surveying techniques, tools, or knowledge that are not fully documented in surviving records. Were the builders applying practical experience alone, or drawing on a technical tradition that has since been lost to history? The mausoleum's interior, while largely inaccessible, has fueled speculation for generations. Early explorers reported labyrinthine passages and small chambers whose purpose remains unclear. Were these storage spaces, ritual areas, or symbolic representations of an underworld journey? Some fringe theories have suggested that the circular form itself could channel energy, sound, or some other phenomenon, creating a sacred or powerful space. While such claims cannot be verified, the fact that the structure continues to inspire these interpretations speaks to its enduring aura of mystery. Even the surrounding landscape contributes to the enigmatic quality of the site. The Medracen sits at a natural crossroads of terrain, elevated yet accessible, visible from miles around. Was this positioning intentional, a visual assertion of authority and divine alignment? Or was it dictated by geography alone? The alignment of the mausoleum with certain celestial events, solstices, equinoxes, or lunar cycles, remains uncertain, but some modern surveys suggest that ancient builders may have factored astronomical considerations into its design. Standing before the Medracen today, one is confronted not only with the physical scale of human effort, but also with the silence of time. The mausoleum speaks of ambition, artistry, and mortality, yet it offers no written explanation, no definitive guide to its secrets. It is complete, yet it keeps its most essential truths hidden. Each block of limestone, each curve of the outer wall, each shadow cast across the platform becomes a question rather than an answer. Was the Medracen built solely to honor kings and queens, or did it serve additional purposes lost to history? Did its builders possess knowledge that exceeded what we commonly attribute to the era? And how much of that knowledge has been obscured by the passing of centuries, the shifting sands, and the absence of continuous record-keeping? As we trace the circumference of the mausoleum, feeling the weight of history under our hands, it becomes clear that the Medracen exists in a delicate balance between clarity and obscurity. Unlike abandoned projects or ruined monuments, it stands as a testament to what was achieved. Yet it also underscores the limits of what we can explain. The mystery is not just in the stones themselves, but in the choices, intentions, and capabilities of the people who shaped them. And so, the Medracen endures, a circular sentinel on the Algerian plain, inviting reflection, study, and wonder. Its completion contrasts with the unfinished ambition of Zawyet el-Aryan, yet its secrets are no less profound. What remains hidden inside, and what insights might we gain if we could fully unlock its design, its construction, and its purpose? For now, these questions linger in the quiet desert air as the mausoleum watches, unchanging, and yet impossibly alive with the memory of human endeavor. From the circular solidity of the Medracen in Algeria, where precision and scale speak silently across millennia, our exploration now moves to a landscape both gentler and older, a rolling plain in Andalusia, Spain, where history is written not in monumental pyramids, but in the careful arrangement of enormous stones. Here lies the Dolmen de la Pastora, a megalithic tomb whose simplicity is deceptive, whose calm exterior belies the layers of mystery it contains. Surrounded by olive groves and undulating hills, the dolmen sits in quiet isolation, yet its presence is unmistakable, a geometric punctuation in the soft, sun-washed terrain. The Dolmen de la Pastora is a corridor tomb, its long passage leading to a central chamber, constructed entirely of massive slabs of limestone. Some of these stones weigh several tons, yet they are balanced with remarkable precision, forming walls and ceilings that have endured for more than 4,000 years. From a distance, the site may seem unassuming, but approaching it reveals the deliberate care in alignment, proportion, and placement. The entrance faces a specific point on the horizon, a subtle orientation that hints at solar or lunar significance, though the precise rationale has long been debated. Archaeologists date the dolmen to the late Neolithic period, roughly 3,500 to 3,000 BCE, situating it among the earliest monumental constructions in the Iberian Peninsula. Such structures were generally intended for communal burial, ritual practice, or ancestor veneration. Excavations within the chamber have uncovered fragments of human remains, pottery, and tools, which provide evidence of repeated use over generations. In these artifacts, we find traces of everyday life intertwined with ritual practice, a testament to a culture that viewed life, death, and the cosmos as deeply interconnected. Yet despite this understanding, the Dolmen de la Pastora raises questions that are difficult to resolve. The sheer size of the stones is astonishing for a society without metal tools or wheeled transport. How did these early communities quarry, move, and lift slabs weighing several tons into place with such precision? Experimental archaeology suggests that levers, ropes, and sheer human effort could suffice. But the uniformity of alignment and the smoothness of the interior surfaces hint at an intuitive understanding of balance and load distribution that still impresses modern engineers. Even the orientation of the passage is notable. Many dolmens in the region align with celestial events, the winter solstice, for instance, or particular lunar phases. At Dolmen de la Pastora, the entrance allows light to penetrate the chamber in a way that could mark seasonal changes. Was this a calendar, a ceremonial alignment, or a symbolic statement connecting the dead to the rhythms of the heavens? The question lingers because, while the practical mechanics of light and shadow are observable, the intent behind them remains speculative. Some researchers have drawn attention to the interior acoustics of the dolmen. The enclosed space, formed by heavy stone, produces unusual echoes and reverberations. A soft voice can carry, a small sound amplified unnaturally. Could these acoustic effects have been intentional, designed to enhance ritual or spiritual experience? Or are they merely incidental, a byproduct of the geometry of construction? Again, the structure offers evidence without explanation. The simplicity of the dolmen's exterior contrasts with the complexity of what it represents. It is easy to walk past it, to see only a pile of ancient stones. But each slab, each joint, and each carefully leveled surface reflects knowledge that was sophisticated, if not fully understood by us today. Some fringe theories suggest that such megalithic sites were aligned with forces beyond the visible, energetic or geomagnetic, though such ideas remain outside mainstream scholarship. Even so, the persistence of these interpretations underscores the sense that Dolmen de la Pastora contains more than meets the eye. Equally intriguing is what the site leaves unspoken. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt or the mausoleums of North Africa, there is no royal attribution, no historical record naming the builders. It belongs simultaneously to a community, to generations long vanished, and to no single individual. Its mystery is collective, its meaning encoded not in writing but in labor, placement, and spatial intelligence. How much of that knowledge has been lost, and how much was intended to be ineffable, a secret held in the hands and minds of its creators? Today, as sunlight drifts across the dolmen stones and shadows stretch through the corridor, one senses both permanence and fragility. The structure has survived millennia of weather, agriculture, and human activity, yet it exists in a delicate balance. Its enduring presence invites reflection not only on the technical achievement, but also on the world view of those who built it. What drove them to invest so much effort into a structure whose purpose could only be fully understood in a context now lost to time? The Dolmen de la Pastora, like the Medracen or Zawyet el-Aryan, challenges assumptions about what is possible with limited tools but limitless human ingenuity. It is both a tomb and a monument, a record and a riddle. Its stones are silent, yet they speak in a language of geometry, orientation, and durability. Standing at the entrance, one feels the weight of those who came before, not merely their bodies, but their intentions, their observations of the heavens, and their attempts to leave a lasting imprint on the world. And so the dolmen remains, unassuming yet commanding, simple yet unfathomable. Its construction defies easy replication, its purpose continues to inspire debate, and its quiet presence reminds us that human history contains layers we can measure but not always explain. Was it purely ceremonial, purely functional, or something more subtle, a blending of the two that we may never fully comprehend? As we linger in the corridor, listening to the echo of the past in the stone, the mystery of Dolmen de la Pastora persists, waiting for those willing to look, wonder, and question what else might still lie hidden within its enduring form. From the sun-warmed stones of Dolmen de la Pastora, where human hands arranged massive slabs with intent that still eludes us, our journey now shifts across oceans and continents to the tropical lowlands of Veracruz, Mexico. Here, in the lush, humid plains once inhabited by the Totonac people, lies a place both captivating and enigmatic: the Cempoala stone circles. Unlike tombs or pyramids, these formations are neither vertical nor monumental in the traditional sense. Yet their subtlety belies a complexity that has perplexed scholars and explorers for centuries. The Cempoala stone circles consist of dozens of carved stones arranged across a gently sloping expanse. Each stone is carefully placed, some in solitary positions, others forming concentric rings or radial patterns. From a distance, they might seem random, scattered haphazardly across the landscape. But closer inspection reveals geometric order, spacing that is remarkably consistent, alignments that suggest observation of the sun, moon, or perhaps other celestial phenomena. The patterns invite questions that have no simple answers. Archaeologists generally link these circles to the Totonac civilization, flourishing between the 12th and 16th centuries CE, just prior to Spanish contact. Cempoala was a thriving political and ceremonial center, notable for its plazas, pyramids, and ball courts. The stone circles, however, remain a peripheral mystery. They do not conform to standard building practices, nor do they appear to function as tombs or structural supports. Some scholars propose that they served as markers for agricultural cycles, ritual activities, or calendrical observations, but definitive evidence is scarce. The craftsmanship of the stones is both subtle and precise. Each one is carved from local basalt or limestone, their surfaces smoothed, their shapes chosen to fit the overall pattern of the formation. In some circles, the stones are slightly tapered or angled, creating visual effects that are striking when viewed from above or along certain sightlines. How the Totonac achieved such accuracy without standardized tools or written measurement systems is an enduring puzzle. Was it trial and error over generations, or a knowledge system now lost to us? The layout of the circles has long fueled speculation. Certain arrangements correspond to cardinal directions, while others align with solar events such as solstices. Shadows fall in unusual ways at sunrise and sunset, suggesting that the placement of the stones may have served both practical and ceremonial purposes. Some researchers have proposed that the circles functioned as observatories, allowing Totonac priests to predict seasonal shifts, agricultural timings, or ritual dates. Yet the precise methods remain elusive. Adding to the intrigue is the absence of textual or pictorial records explaining the circles. Totonac codices were largely destroyed during the Spanish conquest, leaving gaps in our understanding. What we observe today is a skeletal record, the physical traces of human intention without the accompanying narrative. This absence amplifies the sense of mystery, turning each stone into a question rather than an answer. The circles also invite more speculative interpretations. Some theorists suggest that their radial and concentric designs may have been intended to channel or mark energy, geophysical, astronomical, or otherwise. Others propose that the formations were used in rites involving sound or light, exploiting angles and alignments to create sensory effects within the space. While these ideas remain conjectural, they illustrate the ways in which the site challenges conventional expectations of what ancient structures were meant to accomplish. Even the scale of the site is difficult to grasp. Unlike monuments that reach toward the sky, these stones demand patience and perspective. The full design is only apparent when the eye can move across the open plain, noting patterns that emerge slowly over distance. Standing among them, one feels both grounded by the earth and lifted by the subtle geometry surrounding the observer. It is a quiet, almost meditative experience, yet it carries the weight of an enduring enigma. Questions about labor and technique persist. Transporting, carving, and positioning these stones required coordination, skill, and knowledge of materials. Yet the Totonac had no mechanical advantage comparable to levers or pulleys used elsewhere. Did they employ methods that remain unknown to us today? Were the arrangements the result of systematic planning or accumulated adjustments made over generations? And if the circles held astronomical or ritual significance, how closely were these aligned with the movements of the sun, moon, or stars? The site's survival is also remarkable. Generations of weather, agriculture, and human activity might have obliterated such subtle constructions, yet they endure. The persistence of the circles hints at intentionality, a design meant to last, meant to communicate something beyond the immediate moment, something now obscured by centuries of silence. Today, as sunlight filters through the humid morning mist, casting long shadows across the stone circles, one is struck by the harmony of human effort and natural landscape. Each stone seems deliberate, yet the overall purpose remains obscured. The Cempoala stone circles exist in a space between observation and interpretation, between what can be measured and what can only be imagined. Were these formations markers of time, instruments of ritual, or symbols whose meaning is now lost? Did they encode knowledge of the cosmos, of cycles both human and celestial, that we can no longer read? Or were they meant to inspire reflection, a landscape intentionally designed to provoke thought and awe? As we walk among the stones, tracing their lines and observing the subtle interactions of light, shadow, and geometry, the mystery persists, quiet but insistent. The Cempoala stone circles endure as a testament to human ingenuity and curiosity, a creation whose full significance has slipped beyond our grasp. Like the dolmens of Andalusia, the mausoleums of North Africa, and the pyramids of Egypt, they challenge assumptions about what ancient peoples could achieve. And perhaps most importantly, they remind us that not all knowledge is written in books or preserved in monuments of stone. Some is left in patterns, in alignments, in the quiet resonance of human intention set against the vast canvas of the earth. Standing there, one cannot help but wonder, how much more is hidden in plain sight, waiting to reveal itself to those patient enough to observe, question, and imagine? From the quiet geometry of the Cempoala stone circles, where the Totonac left questions etched in stone across the Veracruz plains, our exploration now moves to a city of stone and sky, a place where architecture, ritual, and artistry converge in ways that continue to astonish. Deep in the tropical lowlands of Veracruz, Mexico, surrounded by rivers and rolling hills, lies El Tajín, an ancient city whose pyramids and plazas speak of a culture both sophisticated and enigmatic, yet whose ultimate purposes remain partly obscured by the passage of time. El Tajín is immediately striking. The city spreads across a series of gentle terraces, each lined with pyramids, palaces, ball courts, and temples, their walls carved with intricate reliefs and motifs. The most famous of these is the Pyramid of the Niches, a stepped structure punctuated by 365 carefully arranged niches, catching sunlight and shadow in ways that suggest a keen awareness of the solar year. The effect is mesmerizing. At certain times of day, the pyramid seems to glow from within, as though the sun itself has been harnessed to illuminate the work. From afar, the city rises like a forest of stone, each structure part of a deliberate, larger composition, and yet so much remains unexplained. Archaeologists date El Tajín to the Classic period, roughly 600 to 1200 CE, associating it with the Totonac people and a broader Mesoamerican cultural network. Excavations reveal a thriving city with ceremonial, administrative, and residential zones, connected by causeways and plazas. Ball courts are abundant, far more than in comparable contemporary cities, suggesting the ritual game held extraordinary importance. Reliefs depict warriors, priests, deities, and complex symbolic imagery, offering a glimpse into belief systems, yet without fully explaining the rationale behind the city's precise layout. One of the enduring mysteries is architectural sophistication. The Pyramid of the Niches alone demonstrates an advanced understanding of engineering, proportion, and solar alignment. Each niche appears calculated, yet we do not know the exact methods used to measure and place them with such uniformity. The city as a whole exhibits precise orientation along axes that may relate to cardinal directions or celestial events, suggesting that the planners had a deep knowledge of astronomy, but without surviving records, we cannot confirm their intent. El Tajín also challenges assumptions about labor and logistics. Constructing such monumental structures from local stone and earth would have required immense coordination, knowledge of materials, and sustained effort. How did the Totonac manage such large-scale projects without the wheel or draft animals? The skill is undeniable, yet the details of their methods are lost. Some experimental archaeologists have proposed plausible techniques using ramps, scaffolding, and levers, but the perfection of the work, the alignment of plazas, and the integration of decorative reliefs suggest a sophistication that is difficult to replicate even today. The reliefs themselves add another layer of mystery. Scenes of ritual sacrifice, dancers, and deities are carved with precision and depth, yet the exact symbolism remains elusive. Scholars have noted recurring motifs: serpents, rain, fertility, but interpretations vary widely. Were these stories, religious instruction, or symbolic records of historical events? Did they serve a ceremonial function beyond decoration, perhaps conveying encoded knowledge to those initiated into the city's rituals? The abundance of ball courts is also puzzling. While ball courts were common across Mesoamerica, El Tajín contains more than any other known city of its time. The ceremonial game depicted may have been tied to cosmology, politics, or social cohesion, yet the reasons for its proliferation here are unclear. Was the game a reflection of spiritual beliefs, a method of conflict resolution, or a demonstration of political authority? Or did it serve multiple overlapping purposes, combining sport, ritual, and symbolism in ways we only partially understand? Speculative theories extend beyond ritual and astronomy. Some researchers suggest that the city was designed to interact with natural phenomena, sunlight, rainfall, seasonal changes, to create specific sensory effects for ritual participants. Others propose that the layout of El Tajín encodes calendrical information or cosmological maps. While these ideas remain open to debate, they underscore a recurring theme. The city was not built for mere habitation, but to embody knowledge, intention, and perhaps even power in ways that remain subtle and partially inscrutable. Even today, walking through the terraces and plazas, one feels a sense of orchestration. The placement of pyramids, the alignment of causeways, the orientation of niches, and the careful carving of reliefs all suggest a unified vision. It is a city designed not only to function, but to communicate, to inspire awe, and to endure. Yet the messages it intended to convey remain tantalizingly just beyond reach. The decline of El Tajín adds to the mystery. By the 13th century, the city was largely abandoned. Why did it fall? There are theories of warfare, environmental change, or social upheaval, but no definitive answer. And what of the knowledge encoded in its architecture? The precise alignments, the niches, the ball courts? Was it lost with the city's inhabitants, or partially preserved in the cultural memory of the region? As the sun dips low, casting long shadows across the pyramid of the niches and illuminating the carved friezes in golden light, one senses the city as both deliberate and enigmatic. El Tajín, like the Cempoala stone circles and the Dolmen de la Pastora before it, challenges assumptions about what ancient peoples could accomplish. Its structures are tangible, yet their full significance remains invisible, leaving us to piece together a story from geometry, reliefs, and alignment. And so, El Tajín endures, a testament to human ingenuity, ritual complexity, and an understanding of nature and the cosmos that continues to fascinate. It reminds us that even in a world without written instruction, humans sought to measure, order, and celebrate life in ways that transcend time. Standing in its plazas, one cannot help but wonder, what knowledge, encoded in stone, sunlight, and shadow, still eludes us? How much more remains hidden in the city's carefully arranged terraces, waiting for someone patient enough to perceive it? From the sunlit plazas of El Tajín, where shadow and stone converge to preserve the Totonac mastery of alignment, architecture, and ritual, our journey now rises into the rugged highlands of Georgia in the Caucasus. Here, perched atop a steep ridge and overlooking the surrounding valleys, stands the Abuli Fortress, a massive cyclopean structure whose scale, precision, and age continue to defy easy explanation. Unlike the ceremonial cities and stone circles we have visited, Abuli confronts us with sheer strength and permanence. Its purpose as commanding as its construction is enigmatic. The fortress spreads across a limestone plateau at an altitude exceeding 2,000 meters. From a distance, it appears as a natural extension of the rocky landscape, yet as one approaches, the deliberate placement of colossal blocks becomes apparent. Walls rise in irregular polygons, constructed from massive basalt stones, some weighing several tons. These stones fit together without mortar, yet their stability has endured centuries of earthquakes, weathering, and human activity. The fortress occupies the entire summit, its layout sprawling and complex, designed to dominate both terrain and view. Mainstream archaeology dates Abuli to the Late Bronze Age, roughly 1,500 to 1000 BCE, situating it within a network of fortifications in the South Caucasus. It is generally interpreted as a defensive settlement or military stronghold, likely protecting trade routes or local populations from neighboring tribes. Excavations have revealed remnants of dwellings, storage areas, and simple tools, supporting the notion that the fortress was inhabited seasonally or permanently. Yet much of Abuli resists interpretation, leaving us with more questions than answers. One of the most striking aspects of Abuli is the size and precision of its masonry. The stones are massive, some exceeding 3 meters in length, and yet they are carefully fitted to form walls that curve, angle, and rise without collapsing. How Bronze Age builders achieved this without iron tools, cranes, or wheeled transport is uncertain. Experimental studies show that moving such stones is possible using levers, ropes, and manpower, but the efficiency, uniformity, and endurance of Abuli suggest knowledge and techniques that remain largely lost to us. The fortress is more than a simple enclosure. Its walls form multiple layers, creating inner courtyards, narrow passageways, and terraces that conform to the natural contours of the ridge. Some sections include circular and semicircular structures within the walls, whose purpose is unclear. Were these towers, granaries, ritual spaces, or purely defensive features? Their design hints at function beyond the obvious, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of both military strategy and social organization. Even the location itself is remarkable. Perched so high, Abuli offers sweeping views of the valleys below, yet the placement of gates, walls, and interior structures suggests careful planning in relation to wind, sun, and natural obstacles. Was the fortress designed primarily for defense, or did it also serve as a symbolic statement of power, marking territory and projecting authority? The ambiguity adds to its allure, hinting at dual purposes, practical and ceremonial, that may never be fully discerned. The fortress also raises questions about labor and logistics. Moving, positioning, and fitting stones of such magnitude in a mountainous environment would require careful coordination, advanced knowledge of materials, and sustained effort. Were these efforts supported by a hierarchical society capable of mobilizing large workforces, or did smaller communities achieve this through ingenuity and specialized knowledge? And if so, how much of that knowledge was lost over time, leaving us only the physical evidence without explanation? Some researchers have noted that Abuli may have had symbolic or ritual significance in addition to its defensive role. The arrangement of walls and terraces could have facilitated ceremonies, gatherings, or astronomical observations. Others suggest that the circular and polygonal forms might have been designed to channel energy or acoustics within the fortress, creating spaces that amplified sound or had sensory effects during rituals. These theories remain speculative, yet the very act of considering them emphasizes how much of Abuli's story lies beyond written record. The fortress's endurance is also extraordinary. Centuries of weathering, seismic activity, and human neglect have left their mark, yet the structure remains remarkably intact. Its walls, terraces, and passageways continue to convey a sense of order, purpose, and scale. This resilience invites reflection not only on construction techniques, but also on the intentions of the builders. Every stone seems chosen and placed with intention, every alignment deliberate. Yet the reasoning behind these choices remains elusive. Standing within the walls today, one is struck by both the enormity of human effort and the elusiveness of knowledge. Abuli, like El Tajín and the Cempoala stone circles before it, challenges modern assumptions about what Bronze Age societies could accomplish. Its construction defies replication with simple tools, yet it has endured for millennia, preserving not only physical space but the memory of skill, planning, and perhaps even ritual practice. And so Abuli Fortress endures, a silhouette of human ambition against the Georgian sky, a testament to both ingenuity and mystery. It raises questions that are as immediate as the stones beneath one's feet and as distant as the valleys below. Were these walls erected purely for defense, or did they serve a ceremonial or symbolic function lost to history? Did the builders possess techniques now forgotten, or was this the product of extraordinary patience and collective ingenuity? Standing in its shadow, one cannot help but wonder what knowledge remains encoded in its massive stones, waiting for the observant, patient, and curious to uncover. From the rugged heights of Abuli Fortress, where massive stones cling to the Georgian ridges as if defying gravity itself, our journey now moves south, following the flow of the Nile and its ancient tributaries into the deserts of Nubia. Here, in the arid expanses of modern-day Sudan, rise the silent, monumental forms of the Kerma Deffufa, enormous mud brick structures whose scale, shape, and purpose continue to puzzle archaeologists and historians alike. Unlike the stone precision of Abuli or the intricate plazas of El Tajín, the Deffufa speaks in earth and mass, in volume and presence, rather than carved reliefs or celestial alignments. From a distance, the largest Deffufa dominates the horizon. Its rectangular form rises abruptly from the flat Nubian plain, its walls nearly 18 meters high, constructed from mud brick molded and stacked in orderly courses. The structure is punctuated by massive buttresses, giving it a sense of rhythm, almost like a drum echoing across the desert. Surrounding the central building are smaller Defufas, platforms, and ceremonial enclosures, creating a complex whose scale suggests a society capable of monumental planning and labor organization. The site is at once imposing and strangely serene, a city of mud and memory, surviving in a harsh landscape for nearly 5 millennia. Archaeologists date the Kerma Deffufa to the Kingdom of Kerma, flourishing between roughly 2500 and 1500 BCE. Kerma was a powerful Nubian polity, contemporaneous with Egypt's Old and Middle Kingdoms, and maintained extensive trade, cultural exchange, and conflict with its northern neighbor. The Defufas are generally interpreted as ceremonial centers, possibly royal mortuary temples, used for ritual gatherings, sacrifices, and burial of elite figures. Excavations around these structures have revealed tombs, pottery, and artifacts indicating both wealth and ritual significance, yet the full function of the Deffufa remains open to interpretation. The scale of construction is one of the enduring mysteries. Mud brick is, by nature, fragile and perishable, yet the Deffufa has survived thousands of years of wind, sun, and occasional flooding. The bricks themselves were remarkably uniform, arranged with geometric precision to create massive walls capable of supporting terraces and possibly roofed spaces. How the builders achieved such durability without fired bricks or stone is a question that continues to intrigue researchers. Were their construction techniques now lost to time, or a sophisticated understanding of materials and environmental adaptation that has largely disappeared from memory? The interior of the largest Deffufa offers even more puzzles. Multiple levels are connected by ramps and stairways, and the rooms within were once adorned with colored plaster and possibly painted decorations, traces of which remain faintly visible. The purpose of these interior spaces is debated. Were they purely ceremonial, designed for priests and royalty to conduct rituals, or did they also serve administrative or observational functions? The alignment of the building, its orientation relative to the Nile, and its placement within the larger city of Kerma hint at deliberate planning, yet the precise rationale is unknown. Some researchers suggest that the Deffufa may have been constructed to reflect cosmic or natural cycles. The rectangular plan, buttresses, and raised terraces could have framed sunlight or seasonal shadows in ways meaningful to the Kerma people, similar to other ritual sites in the ancient world. Others speculate that the buildings served as elevated platforms to observe the movement of the Nile agricultural cycles, or celestial events, blending practical and symbolic purposes. Yet without written records from the builders themselves, these interpretations remain informed speculation. Adding to the intrigue is the absence of clear parallels elsewhere. While mud brick architecture was common across Nubia and Egypt, the Defufas' scale and design are unique. They are not fortresses, yet their mass and placement convey authority. They are not pyramids, yet their monumental character suggests ritual significance. Could they represent a lost architectural tradition, a society's attempt to embody spiritual or political power in a form that cannot be fully replicated today? The Defufas' endurance raises further questions about labor and societal organization. Constructing walls of this magnitude, layer by layer, would have required sustained effort from a coordinated workforce. How was this labor organized? And what techniques were employed to ensure stability, particularly given the challenges of mud brick in a desert environment? Experimental reconstructions suggest possibilities, yet none fully capture the ingenuity implied by the original construction. Walking among the terraces today, one is struck by the combination of monumentality and subtlety. The Deffufa commands attention through sheer scale, yet the beauty lies in proportion, rhythm, and the careful relationship to the surrounding landscape. Each ramp, wall, and platform communicates purpose without a single inscription, speaking in a silent architectural language that hints at social hierarchy, ritual practice, and human ingenuity. The Deffufa also reminds us of what remains hidden beneath its terraces. Beneath the raised platforms, archaeologists have discovered tombs and burials, often accompanied by finely crafted grave goods. Yet the majority of the complex remains unexplored, partially due to fragility and accessibility. It is possible that the most significant insights into Kerma's civilization, its religious practices, its governance, its technical knowledge, remain buried, waiting for careful study and interpretation. And so, the Kerma Deffufa endures, a testament to human ambition, environmental adaptation, and architectural mastery. Like Abuli Fortress before it, it challenges assumptions about what ancient societies could achieve with limited technology yet immense vision. Its mud walls rise above the Nubian plain, unyielding to time, yet whispering questions rather than answers. Was the Deffufa primarily ceremonial, a symbol of authority, or a multifunctional space blending ritual, observation, and governance? How did its builders conceive, organize, and execute such a project without leaving written instructions? Standing on the terraces today, one feels the weight of history and the ingenuity of those long gone. The Deffufa is at once monumental and elusive, tangible yet mysterious. It prompts reflection on what knowledge may be encoded not in words, but in stone, earth, and spatial design. And as the desert wind stirs the air around these ancient walls, we are left to wonder what secrets, lost to time, remain within the Deffufa, waiting for those who are patient enough to see beyond its surface. From the mud brick terraces of Kerma Deffufa, where ancient hands shaped earth into monumental forms that have endured millennia, our journey now turns northward across the Mediterranean to the windswept hills of northern Morocco. Here, on a plateau overlooking the Rif Mountains, lies the Mzora stone circle, an enigmatic formation of standing stones whose scale, geometry, and alignment continue to intrigue archaeologists, historians, and travelers alike. Unlike the massive architectural complexes of Kerma, Mzora is subtle, yet commanding, a silent testament to human intention set against the rolling landscape. From a distance, the site appears as a gentle undulation of the earth, punctuated by vertical slabs that catch the sunlight and cast long shadows over the grass. Approaching closer, the magnitude becomes clear. The circle spans approximately 58 meters in diameter, making it one of the largest megalithic stone circles in North Africa. More than 170 stones form the perimeter, standing upright with remarkable consistency in height, orientation, and spacing. Some weigh several tons, yet they are balanced with a precision that suggests careful planning, engineering skill, and an intimate understanding of geometry. Mainstream archaeology tentatively dates Mzora to the Neolithic or Early Bronze Age, roughly 3000 to 2000 BCE. It is generally thought to have functioned as a ceremonial or ritual site, perhaps used for seasonal gatherings, astronomical observations, or communal rites. Excavations have revealed traces of circular stone chambers in the center, as well as evidence of human activity surrounding the monument, suggesting that it was not merely symbolic, but a space of social and spiritual importance. Yet much about Mzora defies simple interpretation. One of the most striking mysteries is the construction itself. How did prehistoric peoples quarry, transport, and erect stones weighing several tons without metal tools, wheels, or draft animals? Experimental archaeology offers some possibilities using levers, ropes, and earth ramps. Yet the uniformity and alignment of the stones hint at an understanding of mechanics that goes beyond trial and error. Why these specific stones, placed at these intervals, arranged in a perfect circle spanning nearly 60 meters? What knowledge guided the builders, and how was it transmitted? The site's astronomical potential adds another layer of intrigue. Some researchers have noted that certain stones appear aligned with sunrise and sunset at solstices, suggesting that Mzora may have functioned as a calendar, marking seasonal changes for agricultural or ceremonial purposes. Could the circle have been used to track solar or lunar cycles or to coordinate rituals tied to the rhythms of the heavens? If so, the builders demonstrated a level of observational precision that continues to fascinate modern scholars. The central chamber, partially buried and difficult to access, raises further questions. Was it a tomb, a ceremonial platform, or a space for sacred gatherings? Artifacts recovered are scarce, leaving interpretation largely speculative. Some researchers have proposed that the chamber served as a focus for ritual energy, sound, or light, a focal point that amplified spiritual or social activity within the circle. While such ideas cannot be confirmed, they reflect the profound sense of intention embedded in the site. Mzora also challenges our understanding of scale and coordination. Erecting more than 100 massive stones, evenly spaced and oriented, would require sustained labor and careful measurement over a long period. Was the effort organized by a hierarchical society, or could smaller communities have achieved this through collective ingenuity and generational effort? How was knowledge of geometry, alignment, and construction preserved and transmitted among people without written language? Speculative interpretations abound, yet the monument remains largely enigmatic. Some suggest that Mzora could encode cosmological knowledge, mapping celestial cycles onto the earth in stone. Others propose that it served as a ritual theater, where gatherings, ceremonies, or initiations were amplified by acoustics and spatial design. There are even fringe theories proposing links to older, possibly pre-Neolithic traditions of megalithic construction, hinting at knowledge passed down across millennia. What is remarkable is that the site continues to inspire inquiry, even when evidence is limited, demonstrating the enduring power of human intention etched into the landscape. The location itself contributes to the mystery. Perched on a plateau with panoramic views, Mzora occupies a liminal space, elevated yet accessible, visible from afar, and intimately connected to its surroundings. Was this prominence deliberate, a visual assertion of power, spirituality, or territorial identity? Or was it chosen for practical reasons, for drainage, sunlight, or proximity to resources? The duality of function and symbolism remains unresolved, leaving the observer to wonder at the deliberate interplay of environment and construction. Standing within the circle today, One is struck by the combination of simplicity and sophistication. The stones themselves are unadorned, yet their arrangement conveys order, purpose, and knowledge. The monument communicates across the millennia without words, inviting contemplation, measurement, and imagination. It is both tangible and elusive, a construction of stones, yet a monument of thought, intention, and possibly ritual practice. Mzora, like Kerma Deffufa and Abuli Fortress before it, challenges assumptions about what ancient societies could achieve. Its construction is technically impressive, difficult to replicate even with modern tools, yet its meaning remains just out of reach. Was it ceremonial, astronomical, funerary, or a combination of functions we no longer fully understand? What knowledge, now lost, guided its builders, and how much remains hidden beneath the grass and soil of the plateau? As the sun shifts across the sky, casting shadows that trace the circle's subtle geometry, Mzora stands in quiet witness to human ingenuity and mystery. It endures not as a monument of conquest or royalty, but as a space of intention and observation, a question in stone. And as we step back from the circle, looking across the rolling Moroccan landscape, one cannot help but wonder, what secrets remain encoded in these ancient stones, waiting for those patient enough to perceive them, and how much of human knowledge has been quietly preserved here, beyond the reach of time. From the windswept stone circles of Mzora, where standing stones have marked the passage of centuries in the rhythms of the sky, our exploration now moves eastward across continents and deserts, to a place where the sands meet oasis, and ancient life once flourished along now dry riverbeds. In the modern United Arab Emirates, near the city of Al Ain, lies Hili Archaeological Park, a site whose carefully arranged tombs, settlement remains, and mysterious structures reveal a civilization both sophisticated and enigmatic, yet whose knowledge has largely vanished into the desert. Hili Archaeological Park unfolds quietly across the flat plains, dotted with low mounds, stone enclosures, and circular tombs. At first glance, the site seems unremarkable, a series of low rises in the arid landscape. Yet, as one approaches, the complexity emerges. Carefully constructed mud brick foundations, recessed burial chambers, and monumental circular tombs known as beehive tombs, each arranged with remarkable uniformity. The largest of these towers, reaching several meters in height, dominates the surrounding terrain, suggesting both social significance and technical ambition. Archaeologists date Hili to the Bronze Age, roughly between 3000 and 2000 BCE, linking it to the region's early oasis-based societies. Excavations have revealed tombs containing jewelry, pottery, and human remains, as well as traces of settlements with mud brick houses, streets, and water channels. These discoveries indicate a society capable of sustained organization, resource management, and complex ritual practice. Yet much of the purpose and meaning behind the site's layout remains elusive. One of the most striking features of Hili is the sophistication of its tombs. The circular beehive structures are constructed from carefully placed stones and mud brick, forming a stable, nearly perfect cylinder with a corbelled roof. The precision of these constructions is remarkable, especially considering the tools available at the time. How did the builders achieve such stability and symmetry without modern surveying equipment or metal tools? Could their methods have involved lost techniques passed down through generations that allowed them to manipulate stone and mud with extraordinary accuracy? The alignment of the tombs adds another layer of intrigue. Some researchers have suggested that their positioning correlates with cardinal directions or seasonal solar events. Were these alignments symbolic, practical, or both? Did they serve to mark time, guide ritual activity, or connect the living with the cycles of nature in a spiritual sense? The patterns are not random. They reveal intent and observation, yet the precise rationale remains hidden. The settlement remains surrounding the tombs raise further questions. Streets, House foundations and water channels indicate planning, yet the structures are simple in form, contrasting with the monumentality of the tombs. Why invest so heavily in funerary architecture while everyday living spaces remain modest? Was this an expression of social hierarchy, a reflection of spiritual priorities, or both? The answer is obscured by the millennia, leaving us to wonder about the values and beliefs of Hili's inhabitants. Excavated artifacts provide tantalizing clues. Objects of copper, semi-precious stones, and intricately crafted pottery indicate trade networks extending beyond the oasis, as well as skilled artisans capable of fine work. Some tombs contain unusual items, such as rare shells and imported stones, suggesting ritual significance or ceremonial use. Yet, without written records, the meaning of these objects and their placement within the tombs remain speculative. Were they offerings, status symbols, tools for the afterlife, or encoded messages understood only by the community? The scale and durability of Hili's constructions also challenge assumptions about Bronze Age societies in the Arabian Peninsula. Moving and shaping stone, transporting materials, and organizing labor to create tombs and settlement layouts required considerable skill, knowledge, and coordination. How did they manage these tasks in an environment of harsh temperatures, scarce water, and shifting sands? Experimental archaeology offers possible methods, but none fully convey the efficiency and precision implied by the site's surviving structures. Some researchers propose that Hili may have held ceremonial or astronomical significance beyond its apparent funerary function. The circular tombs, aligned along apparent axes, could have served as observational platforms, tracking solar, lunar, or seasonal cycles. Others speculate that the arrangement of tombs and settlements reflects sacred geometry, encoding cosmological or social principles into the landscape itself. While these ideas remain hypothetical, they emphasize that Hili was more than a collection of graves. It was a carefully conceived environment, designed with intention, observation, and meaning. Walking among the tombs and low mounds today, one senses a quiet authority. The desert wind stirs across the stone and mud brick, carrying echoes of ancient activity. Yet the structures themselves remain silent. They convey both presence and absence, permanence of construction, yet the knowledge, rituals, and social context of their builders are largely lost. Hili stands as both a record of human ingenuity and a reminder of the limits of our understanding. The site also prompts reflection on endurance and fragility. Mud brick is perishable, yet Hili's structures have survived thousands of years in a harsh environment. Their survival is a testament to careful engineering, observation of local materials, and human ingenuity, yet it also underscores how much could have been lost. Additional structures, objects, or knowledge may have vanished completely, leaving only a partial record. Hili Archaeological Park, like the Mzora Stone Circle, the Kerma Deffufa, and Abuli Fortress before it, challenges modern assumptions about what ancient peoples could achieve. Its tombs and settlements are tangible, yet their meaning remains elusive. Was the site purely funerary, primarily ceremonial, or a sophisticated blend of both? Did the builders possess technical or ritual knowledge now lost to history? And how much remains hidden beneath the sands, waiting to be uncovered by careful observation and inquiry? As the sun dips low, casting long shadows across the circular tombs and reflecting off the mud brick walls, Hili conveys a sense of deliberate design and silent mystery. Its monumental forms and subtle alignments invite us to pause, reflect, and question. Standing in the midst of the tombs, one cannot help but feel the presence of human intention stretched across time, and wonder what secrets, lost to millennia, still linger within this ancient oasis of the desert. From the windswept hills and standing stones of Mzora, where human hands arranged colossal slabs in deliberate circles that still mark the passage of time, our journey now moves across continents to the sun-baked oases of the Arabian Peninsula. Here, near the modern city of Al-Ain in the United Arab Emirates, lies Hili Archaeological Park, a site whose sprawling remains of tombs, settlements, and monumental structures whisper of a society both sophisticated and enigmatic, yet whose knowledge and techniques have largely been lost to the sands of time. At first glance, Hili seems deceptively modest. Low mounds rise from the desert plain, stone and mud brick ruins barely visible against the ochre landscape. Yet as one approaches, the complexity and scale of the site become apparent. Circular and rectangular tombs, some several meters high, punctuate the terrain. Mud brick foundations, platforms, and enclosures stretch across the oasis, revealing an organized settlement with ceremonial, funerary, and perhaps even administrative functions. The arrangement is neither random nor purely functional. It suggests intention, observation, and an understanding of geometry that seems extraordinary for its era. Hili Archaeological Park dates to the Bronze Age, roughly between 3000 and 2000 BCE, and represents a flourishing, oasis-based culture within the larger context of early southeastern Arabian societies. Excavations have uncovered circular tombs, known as beehive tombs, some containing multiple burials, jewelry, pottery, and other grave goods. Settlement areas reveal streets, house foundations, and complex water management systems, indicating a community capable of sustained organization and social cohesion. Yet, despite these discoveries, many aspects of Hili's purpose remain ambiguous. Were these tombs solely funerary, or did they also serve ceremonial or symbolic functions that have been lost to history? The construction of the tombs is particularly remarkable. The circular beehive structures rise several meters in height, built from carefully stacked stones and mud brick to form a stable, nearly perfect cylinder. Roofs were corbelled, creating self-supporting domes without timber or advanced scaffolding. The precision of these forms is striking, especially considering the tools and materials available at the time. How did the builders achieve such uniformity and stability? Was it sheer trial and error refined over generations, or did they possess a systematic knowledge of materials, geometry, and structural integrity that has not survived in written form? The spatial arrangement of the tombs and settlements adds another layer of mystery. Some researchers note alignments that correspond to cardinal directions, seasonal solstices, or other celestial events. Could the placement of tombs and structures have been designed to track the movements of the sun, mark seasonal changes, or organize ceremonial activities according to astronomical cycles? Or were these orientations primarily symbolic, intended to connect the living with the cosmos, the desert landscape, or ancestral spirits? The answers remain elusive, yet the precision suggests observation and purpose beyond mere habit or convenience. Artifacts recovered from Hili provide tantalizing but incomplete clues. Jewelry crafted from copper and semi-precious stones, finely made pottery, and remnants of ceremonial objects indicate not only material wealth, but also cultural and ritual sophistication. Certain tombs contain unusual offerings, rare shells, imported stones, and carefully arranged grave goods that hint at spiritual beliefs or social hierarchies. Were these objects intended to serve the deceased in an afterlife, signify status, or encode knowledge accessible only to certain members of the society? Without written records, their meaning is open to interpretation, and yet the deliberate care in their placement speaks to ritual significance. The scale and durability of Hili's constructions are equally impressive. Mud brick is inherently vulnerable to erosion, yet the tombs, platforms, and walls have endured thousands of years in a harsh desert environment. The largest tombs, with walls nearly 4 meters thick, exhibit both mass and elegance. Achieving this would have required precise knowledge of materials, drying techniques, and structural balance. How did this culture manage large-scale construction projects, transporting and shaping stones and mud brick without the mechanical advantages of later civilizations? Experimental archaeology provides possible methods, yet the perfection of Hili's surviving structures suggests skill and intuition beyond what is easily replicated today. Some scholars suggest that Hili may have held ceremonial or astronomical significance beyond the evident funerary function. The circular tombs, the alignment of structures, and the placement of settlement areas may have been carefully calibrated to solar or lunar cycles. Could the site have been used to observe the heavens, mark agricultural seasons, or conduct rituals aligned with celestial events? Others propose that the spatial organization encodes social or cosmological principles, embedding hierarchy, power, or belief into the very landscape itself. While these hypotheses remain speculative, they illustrate the depth of intention and observation implied by the site. The site's water management and settlement planning also hint at sophisticated environmental knowledge. Channels, wells, and foundations indicate an understanding of the desert ecosystem and the importance of sustaining life in a harsh climate. How did these early communities balance everyday survival with monumental construction? And how might their relationship with the environment have shaped ritual, social, and architectural choices? The interplay between practicality and symbolism remains a central question in interpreting Hili. Walking among the tombs today, one is struck by the quiet authority of the site. The desert wind stirs the sand against the stone and mud brick walls, carrying whispers of ceremonies, burials, and daily life that are otherwise lost to history. The structures themselves communicate human intention, stability, endurance, and observation, yet they reveal little about the meaning behind the labor that built them. Hili conveys permanence, yet its story is fragmented, leaving much to the imagination. Like Mzora, Kerma Deffufa, and Abuli Fortress, Hili challenges modern assumptions about what ancient peoples could achieve. Its monumental forms are technically sophisticated, difficult to replicate even with modern tools, and yet its full purpose remains tantalizingly out of reach. Was it primarily a funerary site, a ceremonial center, or a complex combination of both? Did the builders employ techniques now forgotten, or was this achievement the result of patient, iterative skill refined over generations? And how much knowledge, now buried or eroded, still lies hidden beneath the sands of the oasis? As the sun dips low over Hili Archaeological Park, casting long shadows across the circular tombs and mud brick walls, the site reveals itself in fleeting patterns of light and shadow. Its monumental forms rise from the desert with quiet authority, yet its meaning remains elusive. Standing among the tombs, one cannot help but sense the intentions of those who built them, human hands working with earth and stone to craft permanence, order, and ritual, and wonder what secrets, buried in the mud brick and sand, still await discovery. What knowledge, what belief, what practice lies encoded in the very layout of this oasis, surviving millennia, and waiting for those patient enough to interpret it? From the sun-baked mud brick tombs of Hili, where ancient hands molded earth into structures that have endured millennia in the harsh Arabian desert, our journey now sweeps northwest across continents and seas to the rugged, wind-swept islands of Scotland. Here, on the Isle of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides, perched atop a rocky ridge overlooking the Atlantic, stands Dun Carloway, a broch whose sheer circular walls and enigmatic construction continue to captivate archaeologists, historians, and visitors alike. Unlike the sprawling necropolises of Hili, Dun Carloway commands attention through verticality, precision, and the subtle interplay between stone, space, and landscape. From a distance, The broch rises like a sentinel from the heath. Its thick, dry stone walls curve smoothly to form a nearly perfect circle, tapering slightly as they ascend to their original height of more than 10 meters. Within, a spiral staircase hugs the inner wall, leading to upper floors now largely lost to time, while small chambers embedded in the thickness of the wall suggest storage, refuge, or ritual use. The structure dominates the surrounding landscape, a reminder of both human ambition and technical skill in a remote and challenging environment. Dun Carloway is one of the best preserved examples of a broch, a type of dry stone tower unique to Iron Age Scotland, dating roughly from 100 BCE to 100 CE. These structures are widely thought to have served as defensive homes for powerful families or local chieftains, yet their design continues to puzzle researchers. Why invest so much labor in a freestanding circular tower with walls several meters thick? Was its purpose purely defensive, or did it serve social, symbolic, or ritual functions that modern interpretations struggle to fully capture? The technical sophistication of Dun Carloway is remarkable. Constructed without mortar, its walls rely entirely on careful selection, placement, and balance of irregular stones. The stability of the structure, enduring centuries of wind, rain, and erosion, attests to the builder's advanced understanding of weight distribution and geometry. How did Iron Age communities achieve such precision without the tools and machinery we take for granted today? Was this knowledge the result of empirical experimentation passed down through generations, or did it involve techniques now lost to history? The interior is equally compelling. Narrow chambers within the walls, a small hearth, and an internal doorway suggest a functional domestic space, yet the spiral staircases and multiple levels imply more than mere shelter. Could the broch have served as a ceremonial or observational tower, offering vantage points over the surrounding landscape for ritual purposes or social control? Some researchers speculate that the design allowed inhabitants to monitor approaching groups while simultaneously projecting power and prestige. But if defensive needs were primary, why invest in the circular, freestanding form, so technically demanding compared to simpler fortifications? Dun Carloway also challenges assumptions about labor and organization in Iron Age Scotland. The volume of stone required, the precision of placement, and the coordination necessary to build a tower of this height and durability would have demanded skilled masons, logistical planning, and sustained collective effort. How was work organized in a society without written plans or standardized tools? Could smaller, dispersed communities have achieved this through shared knowledge and experience, or does the broch imply a centralized authority capable of mobilizing labor on a significant scale? Speculation extends beyond function and labor to broader symbolic meaning. Some theories propose that brochs like Dun Carloway encoded social hierarchy, serving as a physical manifestation of status and authority. Others suggest astronomical or ritual significance. Circular structures with embedded chambers may have facilitated ceremonies, observations of celestial events, or communal gatherings tied to seasonal cycles. While such interpretations are necessarily conjectural, they underscore the capacity of the broch builders to merge practicality with symbolic expression, a fusion of architecture, social order, and cultural intent. The location of Dun Carloway contributes to its mystery. Positioned on a rocky ridge with commanding views of the surrounding landscape and coastline, the broch seems deliberately sited to dominate sightlines and access routes. Was this placement purely defensive, or did it serve as a territorial marker, a statement of presence visible across miles of moorland? The interplay of landscape and structure invites consideration of how Iron Age societies perceived space, power, and the environment. Artifacts recovered within and around the broch provide additional clues, though they leave questions unanswered. Pottery fragments, tools, and domestic remains indicate habitation and daily life, yet few items directly reveal the intentions behind the construction. Was the broch a home, a fortress, a ceremonial space, or some combination of all three? How much knowledge, skill, and cultural meaning is encoded in the arrangement of stones themselves, in the spiral staircases, in the careful curving of the walls? Standing within the broch today, one feels both enclosure and openness. The thick stone walls evoke permanence and protection, yet gaps and doorways frame the landscape, connecting the interior to the surrounding environment. There is a duality here. The broch is at once a shelter and a projection, a private space and a public statement. Its design communicates something deliberate, yet the message is silent, leaving the observer to imagine the rituals, conflicts, or social structures that once gave it life. The enduring mystery of Dun Carloway also lies in its replication, or the difficulty thereof. Modern builders with cranes, cement, and precision tools might attempt to replicate its form, yet the subtlety of its dry stone construction, the balance of irregular stones, and the integration with landscape remain challenging to reproduce with the same efficiency and durability. Like Hili Archaeological Park and Mzora Stone Circle, the broch invites admiration not only for its visual impact, but for the ingenuity and knowledge implied by its construction, knowledge that is largely lost to time. Even today, as the Atlantic wind sweeps across the ridge and the sound of waves crashes against distant cliffs, Dun Carloway speaks in silence. Its presence commands attention, yet its meaning is only partially perceptible. Was it primarily defensive, ceremonial, or domestic? Was its design intended to impress, intimidate, or protect? Or did it serve purposes that combined all three, layered with meanings that were understood in context, but now largely opaque to us? Dun Carloway endures as a testament to human skill, intention, and mystery. Its circular walls rise from the Hebridean landscape as both a monument to technical mastery and a silent question across centuries. It challenges modern assumptions about what Iron Age societies could achieve, inviting contemplation of lost knowledge, sophisticated planning, and cultural purpose. As one stands within its thick stone embrace, looking out across the heath and distant coastline, one cannot help but wonder, what secrets are encoded in its walls? What practices unfolded here? And how much remains hidden, waiting for patient observation, insight, and imagination to illuminate the full story? From the rugged stone towers of Dun Carloway, perched atop windswept Hebridean ridges, our exploration now shifts southward, across the Mediterranean, to the sun-drenched island of Minorca. Here, nestled on a rocky promontory overlooking the deep blue waters of the Balearic Sea, lies Talatí de Dalt, an enigmatic settlement whose stone structures, terraces, and ceremonial spaces whisper of a civilization whose knowledge, skill, and purpose remain partly veiled by the millennia. Unlike the defensive brochs of Scotland, Talatí de Dalt conveys mastery through planning, social organization, and ritual architecture, blending domestic life and monumental construction into a single, cohesive landscape. From a distance, Talatí de Dalt appears as a scattering of low stone walls and terraces clinging to a rocky plateau. As one approaches, the subtlety of its design becomes apparent. The settlement occupies an elevated position, its buildings arranged in irregular yet deliberate clusters, following the contours of the promontory. Stone walls form circular and rectangular foundations, with interior spaces divided into rooms, courtyards, and storage areas. Terraced platforms descend toward the coastline, creating a layered effect that unites functional, social, and perhaps ceremonial purposes in one harmonious layout. The visual impact is quiet but powerful, a city of stone and intention, rising naturally from the terrain, yet speaking of careful human design. Archaeologists date Talatí de Dalt to the Bronze and Iron Ages, roughly between 1200 and 500 BCE, linking it to the Talaiotic culture that flourished across the Balearic Islands. Excavations have uncovered a wealth of artifacts, pottery, tools, animal remains, and evidence of metalworking, indicating a society capable of sustaining complex domestic, economic, and ritual activity. Central to the site are the taliots, massive stone towers that may have served as watch points, meeting spaces, or ceremonial platforms. These structures are simple in form, but monumental in presence, their construction suggesting both technical knowledge and the social organization required to mobilize labor and resources. The architecture of Talatí de Dalt raises immediate questions. The taliots are constructed from large, roughly hewn stones, some weighing several tons, carefully stacked to form conical or cylindrical towers. Some include internal chambers, corbelled roofs, and narrow passageways, demonstrating an understanding of structural stability and spatial optimization. How were these stones moved, positioned, and fitted without modern tools or machinery? Could their builders have possessed construction techniques now lost, or was this the product of careful trial, observation, and generational experience? The precision and endurance of these structures continue to challenge modern expectations of Bronze and Iron Age societies. The spatial organization of the settlement adds another layer of intrigue. Buildings cluster around central courtyards, pathways, and open spaces, yet the layout is neither rigidly geometric nor haphazard. It responds to the contours of the plateau, integrating architecture with terrain, sunlight, and wind. Some researchers have suggested that certain orientations of buildings and taliots correspond to solstices, equinoxes, or other astronomical events. Were these alignments purely symbolic, or did they serve practical and ritual functions, marking time, guiding ceremonies, or reinforcing social hierarchies? The answers remain elusive, but the consistency of design hints at intentionality beyond mere habitation. Artifacts from Talatí de Dalt deepen the mystery. Stone tools, ceramics, and metal objects reveal skilled craftsmanship, yet some finds are puzzling. Exotic materials imported from afar, unusual deposits in certain rooms, and evidence of ritual activity such as animal sacrifice or offerings. These elements suggest a culture capable of both practical innovation and symbolic sophistication, yet their precise meaning remains hidden. Were these objects functional, ceremonial, or both? Did they encode knowledge, status, or spiritual belief in ways that are no longer fully understandable? The terraces themselves are a technical and cultural marvel. Carved from the rocky promontory, they create stable platforms for buildings, cultivation, and movement, resisting erosion for centuries. Constructing such terraces would have required intimate knowledge of geology, weight distribution, and environmental adaptation. The effort demonstrates not only physical labor, but planning, foresight, and an understanding of the interaction between architecture and landscape. How much of this knowledge has been lost, leaving only the surviving structures as testimony to human ingenuity? Some researchers have proposed more speculative interpretations of Talatí de Dalt. The taliots and terraced structures may have functioned as ritual centers, astronomical observatories, or markers of social and territorial organization. Could the alignment of certain buildings reflect a broader cosmology, encoding knowledge of the heavens or seasonal cycles into the very layout of the settlement? Were the terraces designed to amplify sound, visibility, or ritual performance, integrating sensory experience into architectural planning? While these ideas remain hypotheses, they highlight the sophistication of a culture whose achievements are difficult to replicate with modern tools. Standing amidst the ruins today, one experiences both permanence and elusiveness. Stone walls rise from the plateau, echoing human intention, yet much of the site's meaning remains out of reach. Courtyards, chambers, and terraces speak of domestic life, communal activity, and ritual observance, but the specific practices, beliefs, and social dynamics that shaped them are largely inaccessible. Talatí de Dalt is at once tangible and mysterious, a place where human effort, skill, and culture are encoded in stone, waiting to be interpreted. Talatí de Dalt also challenges modern assumptions about labor, organization, and technical ability. Moving and placing massive stones, creating durable terraces, and constructing complex towers and chambers would have required coordination, planning, and expertise. Was this a centralized effort led by a ruling class or a collective achievement of the community? How was knowledge transmitted across generations, and how much has been lost, leaving only the physical remains as evidence? These questions persist because the site speaks in structures rather than words, leaving interpretation to careful observation, imagination, and comparison with similar Talaiotic sites. Like Dun Carloway, Hili Archaeological Park, and Mzora Stone Circle. Before it, Talatí de Dalt invites awe not only for its technical accomplishments, but also for its enduring mystery. Its construction is difficult to replicate even today, yet the reasoning, planning, and cultural context that produced it are only partially visible to us. The site bridges domestic life, monumental construction, and possible ceremonial or symbolic function, challenging us to consider the intersection of practicality, ritual, and social organization in ancient societies. As the afternoon sun casts long shadows across the terraces and towers, Talatí de Dalt exudes a quiet authority. Its walls, platforms, and talaiots speak of human intention stretched across centuries, yet its story remains incomplete. What did the builders hope to achieve, preserve, or communicate? How did they balance everyday life with monumental construction, practical needs with spiritual or ceremonial imperatives? And what knowledge, now lost to time, is embedded in the layout, the alignment, and the very stones themselves? Standing amidst the ruins, overlooking the Balearic Sea and the rolling landscape beyond, one cannot help but feel the weight of human ingenuity and mystery. Talatí de Dalt endures as a testament to the skill, vision, and cultural sophistication of a people long vanished. Yet, as with all the unexplained sites we have explored, from the standing stones of Mzora to the fortified walls of Dun Carloway, from Hili's mud-brick tombs to Kerma's monumental Deffufa, the full story remains tantalizingly out of reach. The settlement invites contemplation, reflection, and wonder, leaving us with a single enduring truth. The ancient world still holds secrets that challenge replication, understanding, and imagination, waiting patiently for those willing to see beyond stone and earth to the culture, knowledge, and intention encoded within. From the stone terraces and talaiots of Talatí de Dalt, where Bronze and Iron Age peoples carved their lives and rituals into the rocky landscape of Minorca, our journey now sweeps eastward across the Mediterranean and into the rugged highlands of southeastern Turkey. Here, atop a remote mountain plateau rising over 2,100 meters above sea level, sits Nemrut Dağ, a monumental archaeological site whose colossal statues, massive tumulus, and ceremonial terraces continue to confound historians, archaeologists, and travelers alike. Unlike the domestic settlements of Talatí de Dalt or the defensive brokes of Scotland, Nemrut Dağ confronts us with scale and symbolism on an almost mythic level, blending the earthly with the divine. From a distance, Nemrut Dağ dominates the horizon. The mountain itself is stark, its slopes barren and windswept, yet at its summit lies an extraordinary engineered landscape, a vast tumulus of crushed stone, flanked by terraces adorned with colossal statues of gods, kings, and mythological creatures. The heads of these statues, many over 2 meters in height, are scattered across the terraces, their expressions frozen in a mixture of authority and abstraction. The sheer magnitude and arrangement of these sculptures evoke awe, suggesting a vision of power and ritual that transcends ordinary construction. Mainstream scholarship attributes the site to King Antiochus I of Commagene, who ruled in the 1st century BCE. Antiochus sought to consolidate his kingdom through a fusion of Persian, Greek, and local traditions, blending political authority with divine ancestry. The summit complex is widely interpreted as a funerary sanctuary, designed to honor the king and his gods while demonstrating his power to both subjects and rivals. Excavations have revealed remnants of statues, reliefs, inscriptions, and terraces, providing evidence of monumental planning and craftsmanship. Yet despite extensive study, Nemrut Dağ continues to resist complete understanding. The engineering and logistics of Nemrut Dağ are extraordinary. Transporting and carving stones weighing several tons, then positioning them atop a high, remote mountain plateau required immense labor and ingenuity. The tumulus itself rises approximately 50 meters and spans nearly 150 meters in diameter, a testament to both ambition and technical knowledge. How did ancient builders move massive stones up steep slopes without cranes, wheels, or modern machinery? Could there have been techniques lost to history, allowing precise placement of these colossal elements? Or was it sheer perseverance, coordination, and human ingenuity that achieved such a feat? The statues themselves add further layers of mystery. Carved in a hybrid style, they combine Hellenistic realism with local and Persian iconography, reflecting a deliberate cultural synthesis. Some statues are seated, others once stood, and all were aligned along the east and west terraces of the tumulus, oriented to face the rising and setting sun. Does this alignment suggest astronomical observation, ritual timing, or a symbolic connection between the terrestrial and celestial realms? Could Antiochus have intended the mountain summit to function not merely as a tomb, but as a cosmological statement, embedding his legacy into the landscape and the heavens? Equally puzzling is the fragmented nature of the site. Over centuries, earthquakes and human activity have toppled many statues, separating heads from bodies and scattering fragments across the terraces. This destruction only enhances the enigmatic aura of Nemrut Dağ. The surviving elements communicate design and intention, yet their fragmentation invites speculation. Were the statues originally paired in narrative sequences, telling stories of kingship, divinity, and cosmic order? Did the composition encode messages meant to endure across generations, legible only to the initiated or those familiar with the combined pantheon? The inscriptions discovered at Nemrut Dağ hint at the king's ambition and ideology. Carved into stones and reliefs, they proclaim Antiochus's descent from both Persian and Greek deities, asserting his role as intermediary between gods and men. Yet many inscriptions are eroded, and the symbolic language is complex, blending political propaganda with religious doctrine. How much of the intended meaning is lost, and how much might we misinterpret without the cultural context of the time? The site's layered symbolism suggests a sophisticated understanding of politics, theology, and public perception, yet much remains opaque. The terraces themselves, constructed with precise stone retaining walls, further highlight technical skill. They create a monumental frame for the statues and the tumulus, forming a controlled landscape that transforms a mountaintop into a sacred stage. The engineering required to prevent erosion, maintain structural stability, and integrate the tumulus with natural contours is impressive, particularly given the altitude, harsh weather, and seismic activity of the region. Were these terraces designed purely for display and access, or did they serve ritual, ceremonial, or observational purposes as well? Some scholars have speculated on additional, less tangible aspects of Nemrut Dağ. The site may have functioned as a ritual theater, amplifying sound and movement during ceremonies. The arrangement of statues, terraces, and tumulus may encode cosmological knowledge, mapping celestial events onto the landscape. Others propose that the mountain itself, chosen for its isolation and prominence, was part of a deliberate effort to connect the king's resting place with divine forces, positioning him at the intersection of earth and sky. While these interpretations remain speculative, they underscore the depth of intention embedded in the site's design. Standing among the colossal heads and terraces today, one feels both awe and mystery. The expressions of the statues, frozen across millennia, seem to observe the surrounding valleys, the rising and setting sun, and the visitor alike. The site communicates human ambition, political vision, and religious devotion, yet much of its meaning is inaccessible. How did Antiochus conceive such a project? How were workers organized, stones transported, and artistic techniques perfected in such a remote and challenging environment? How much knowledge of construction, cosmology, and ritual has been lost, leaving only these monumental forms as evidence? Nemrut Dağ endures as both monument and enigma. Its colossal statues, massive tumulus, and terraced summit resist replication, even with modern tools, and yet their precision, alignment, and symbolic resonance suggest knowledge that surpassed ordinary technical skill. Like Talatí de Dalt, done Carloway, and Hili Archaeological Park before it, Nemrut Dağ challenges our understanding of ancient capability, blending technical mastery, social organization, and cultural sophistication into forms that speak across centuries. As the late afternoon sun casts long shadows over the stone heads and the tumulus, the summit takes on an otherworldly quality. Wind sweeps across terraces, carrying dust, silence, and the echoes of ceremonies long past. Nemrut Dağ rises not merely as a tomb or a monument, but as a complex statement of human ambition, divine aspiration, and architectural audacity. And yet, despite centuries of study, questions endure. How much of the king's vision survives in stone? What ceremonial, astronomical, or symbolic knowledge might remain encoded in the terraces and statues? How did a society without modern technology achieve such precision, scale, and permanence? Standing on the summit, gazing across the rugged Anatolian landscape, one cannot help but feel the weight of time, human ingenuity, and mystery. Nemrut Dağ endures as a testament to what is possible when vision, devotion, and technical skill converge, and as a reminder that even the grandest human achievements may leave questions far deeper than answers. What secrets linger in its tumulus and terraces, and how much remains hidden, waiting for those patient enough to observe, measure, and imagine beyond the stone? From the windswept summit of Nemrut Dağ, where colossal statues gaze eternally over the Anatolian highlands, our journey now turns northwest across Europe to the rolling green hills and mist-laden valleys of Wales. Here, perched atop a gentle rise near the Preseli Mountains in Pembrokeshire, lies Pentre Ifan, an iconic Neolithic dolmen whose massive capstone, balanced with astonishing precision on slender, upright stones, has stood for over 5 millennia, challenging both imagination and engineering. Unlike the monumental terraces and statues of Nemrut Dağ, Pentre Ifan conveys its mystery through simplicity, proportion, and the quiet audacity of its construction. From afar, Pentre Ifan appears as a natural outcropping, a stone jutting from the earth, supported by others as if by accident. But as one approaches, the intentionality becomes unmistakable. The capstone, an estimated 16 tons, rests upon 3 upright stones, forming a triangular base that seems impossibly delicate given the weight above it. Beneath, a long burial chamber, partially hidden, suggests purpose beyond aesthetic spectacle. The arrangement is elegant, almost minimalist, yet its scale and balance provoke questions that have persisted for centuries. How could Neolithic people lift, maneuver, and position such a stone without modern tools, cranes, or knowledge of physics as we understand it today? Archaeologists date Pentre Ifan to around 3500 BCE, placing it within the early Neolithic period, when farming communities were establishing permanent settlements across Britain and Western Europe. Its primary function appears funerary, a burial chamber constructed of carefully selected stones, covered originally by an earthen mound. Excavations have revealed traces of human remains, pottery, and stone tools, indicating ritual activity and suggesting that the dolmen served both as a tomb and as a ceremonial focus for the community. Yet, the absence of detailed records and the fragmentary nature of what survives leave many questions unresolved. The construction itself is a marvel of planning and technique. The enormous capstone spans over 6 meters and weighs roughly 16 tons, yet it balances perfectly atop slender uprights. How was it raised into position without machinery? Were earthen ramps, ropes, wooden levers, or sheer manpower employed? Experimental archaeology offers potential methods, yet none entirely convey the elegance, efficiency, or precision required to achieve such a feat. The stone seems to defy gravity, inviting speculation about lost techniques, ritualized labor, or knowledge encoded in design rather than written instruction. The site's setting enhances its mystery. Pentre Ifan is sited on a rise overlooking the surrounding farmland and valleys, suggesting visibility was important. Did this elevation serve a spiritual or symbolic purpose, connecting the dead with the horizon, the sun, or celestial events? Some researchers have speculated about alignments with solstices, lunar cycles, or specific star positions, though evidence is circumstantial. Even so, the very act of situating the dolmen atop a prominent rise suggests an understanding of landscape and perspective that transcends simple utility. The choice of stones adds further intrigue. Each upright and the capstone itself appear carefully selected, not merely for size or availability, but for shape and balance. The capstone's underside is remarkably flat, allowing it to rest securely on its supports while minimizing contact points. Was this a product of trial and error over generations? Or did Neolithic builders possess observational knowledge and techniques now lost to time? The attention to geometry, weight distribution, and visual effect suggests an intentionality that speaks both to practical skill and to ritual or symbolic meaning. Artifacts associated with Pentre Ifan, though sparse, hint at a broader cultural context. Fragments of pottery, flint tools, and scattered bones indicate that the dolmen was part of a network of ceremonial sites, perhaps marking territory, lineage, or social cohesion. Some researchers propose that it functioned as a locus for communal gatherings, rituals of remembrance, or rites tied to seasonal cycles. Yet the lack of extensive artifacts leaves the specifics of these practices largely speculative. What we see today, the stones themselves, may be the most enduring record of intent, yet also the most cryptic. The precision and endurance of Pentre Ifan also raise questions about replication. Moving, balancing, and stabilizing a stone of 16 tons would be challenging even today, and yet Neolithic people accomplished it with remarkable skill. How many generations of knowledge, practice, and observation were required to execute this construction? Did communities share techniques orally, through apprenticeship, or via ritualized practice? How much knowledge has been lost simply because it was never written down? And how does this affect our understanding of Neolithic engineering and social organization? Some scholars have ventured more speculative interpretations. Could the dolmen have encoded astronomical knowledge or cosmological symbolism? Was it aligned to specific solar or lunar events, or to the rising of particular stars? Did the triangular form reflect beliefs about the afterlife, the connection between earth, sky, and human endeavor, or a societal hierarchy embedded in stone. While such theories cannot be proven, they highlight the richness of the site as a focal point for imagination, inquiry, and reflection. Standing at Pentre Ifan today, one is struck by the interplay of permanence and ephemerality. The stones have endured for over 5,000 years, resisting wind, rain, and human disturbance, yet much of their context, the earthen mound, ritual use, and surrounding landscape, has eroded or vanished. What was once a vibrant center of human activity now speaks primarily through its geometry, mass, and presence. Its story is partial, fragmented, and mysterious, yet it commands attention, inviting contemplation of human ingenuity, ritual life, and the unknown. Like Nemrut Dağ, Talatí de Dalt, and Dune Carloway before it, Pentre Ifan challenges our assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies. Its construction is difficult to replicate even with modern tools, and yet it was achieved by a community without written language or mechanized technology. Its form communicates intention, skill, and cultural meaning, even when the precise reasons behind its design remain hidden. The dolmen is at once simple and sophisticated, tangible, yet mysterious, a physical question across millennia. As the sun dips toward the horizon, casting long shadows beneath the capstone and highlighting the slender uprights that support it, Pentre Ifan assumes a quiet, almost sacred presence. Wind rustles across the grass-covered rise, carrying whispers of ceremonies, burials, and communal memory that are otherwise lost. The site endures as a testament to human ingenuity, ritual practice, and the desire to leave a mark on the landscape. Yet it also reminds us of what is lost to time: knowledge, technique, and cultural nuance, preserved only in stone and in our attempts to interpret it. Standing within the dolmen's shadow, overlooking the valleys beyond, one cannot help but wonder, how did Neolithic builders conceive of such a project? How was the capstone maneuvered and balanced so precisely? What rituals, beliefs, or social structures motivated such an enduring act? And what secrets, now hidden beneath the earth or lost to memory, might remain encoded in the very stones themselves? Pentre Ifan endures not merely as a tomb or monument, but as a question in stone, inviting reflection, curiosity, and wonder for all who pause to consider it. From the rolling hills of Pembrokeshire, where Pentre Ifan's colossal capstone balances precariously atop slender uprights, our journey now stretches far to the east, across Europe into the temperate plains of Russia's North Caucasus. Here, amid dense forests, meandering rivers, and hidden valleys, lies Taverskoye Dolmen, an enigmatic megalithic tomb that, like Pentre Ifan, astonishes with its size, precision, and the enduring mystery of its construction. Unlike the sunlit plateaus of Wales, Taverskoye sits in a quiet, secluded landscape where moss-covered stones and thick undergrowth cloak a site whose secrets have remained largely undisturbed for millennia. Approaching Taverskoye, one first notices the sheer weight and scale of the stones. Massive megaliths, some weighing several tons, are arranged in a compact chamber, capped by a single horizontal stone forming a roof that seems to float improbably above the supporting uprights. The walls are formed of carefully selected slabs, fitted with remarkable care despite the irregularity of their shapes. The interior is deceptively spacious, suggesting a design conscious not only of structural stability, but of the human experience within. Shadows gather in the corners, lending the chamber a quiet, almost sacred presence, as if the stones themselves have preserved the memory of those who built and were interred here. Archaeologists date Taverskoye Dolmen to the late Neolithic or early Bronze Age, approximately 3,500 to 2,500 BCE, linking it to a broader tradition of megalithic tomb building in the Caucasus region. Excavations have revealed human remains, pottery fragments, and occasional metal implements, indicating that the dolmen served as a burial site and possibly as a locus for ritual activity. Yet the scarcity of artifacts, combined with the difficulty of accessing the site, leaves many questions unanswered. Who built these structures, and what knowledge guided their hands? What cultural or spiritual imperatives shaped the choice of location, materials, and form? The construction of Taverskoye Dolmen is immediately striking for its technical sophistication. The upright stones are massive, yet they have been positioned with precision, supporting a horizontal capstone that spans the chamber in a way that defies casual expectation. The balance of weight, the placement of irregular stones, and the endurance of the structure over thousands of years all point to an advanced understanding of structural principles, likely acquired through observation, experience, and perhaps techniques that have now been lost. How did Neolithic builders transport these stones, some weighing multiple tons, across uneven terrain without wheels or cranes? Could their methods have involved earthen ramps, wooden levers, or coordinated labor systems that are now beyond reconstruction? The site's location adds to its intrigue. Taverskoye Dolmen is situated on a gentle rise overlooking the surrounding forested valleys, creating visibility without commanding exposure. This positioning may have been intentional, signaling social or ritual significance, or connecting the dolmen to the surrounding natural landscape in ways that are now obscure. Could the placement reflect cosmological knowledge, alignments with celestial bodies, or awareness of solar and lunar cycles? Some researchers have noted faint correlations between dolmen orientations and seasonal events, though the evidence is fragmentary. Even so, the deliberate siting suggests an integration of landscape, function, and meaning. The stone selection at Taverskoye is similarly intriguing. Builders appear to have chosen slabs not just for size or availability but for shape, surface quality, and durability. The capstone, in particular, demonstrates careful consideration, a flat, elongated slab balanced with remarkable precision atop the supporting uprights. Was this a product of trial and error experimentation over generations, or did the builders possess a systematic understanding of weight distribution and balance that has been lost to time? The subtlety of the construction suggests knowledge that is both practical and symbolic, a blending of engineering skill and cultural expression. Artifacts recovered from the dolmen, though sparse, hint at ritual practice. Pottery fragments, stone tools, and occasional metal ornaments suggest burial rites, offerings, or commemorative activity. Some researchers have proposed that the dolmen may have functioned not merely as a tomb, but as a ceremonial space, marking social hierarchies, seasonal cycles, or connections between the living and the dead. Yet the absence of extensive inscriptions or symbolic carvings leaves interpretation largely to inference, guided by comparative analysis with other megalithic sites in the Caucasus and beyond. What stories, what beliefs, what knowledge did these stones encode for those who used them? The precision and durability of Taverskoye Dolmen also raise questions about replication. Moving, placing, and balancing stones of such magnitude is challenging even today, and yet Neolithic builders achieved it using only the tools and resources available at the time. How was labor organized? How was knowledge transmitted across generations? Could the construction process itself have held ritual significance, a social or spiritual act as much as a practical endeavor? Each question underscores the complexity of understanding these ancient societies, whose achievements are tangible, yet whose techniques and intentions remain largely hidden. Some researchers have speculated on more symbolic interpretations. Could Taverskoye Dolmen have been aligned with particular celestial events, serving as a primitive observatory or calendar? Did the builders intend for the structure to function as a conduit between the living and the dead, or between the human and natural worlds? Were the dimensions, orientations, and material choices encoded with meaning that is now inaccessible, readable only to those initiated in the culture that produced it? While such interpretations remain speculative, they emphasize that the dolmen's mystery is as much conceptual as it is physical. Standing among the massive stones today, one is struck by a dual sensation: awe at the technical accomplishment and humility before the mystery that endures. The capstone towers overhead, seemingly defying gravity, while the shadows of the uprights stretch across the forest floor. The site communicates human intention, persistence, and cultural sophistication, yet it also resists full understanding. How did Neolithic people conceive of such an undertaking? How did they coordinate labor, manipulate materials, and envision a structure that would endure millennia? Taverskoye Dolmen, like Pentre Ifan, Talatí de Dalt, and Carloway before it, challenges modern assumptions about ancient capabilities. Its construction is difficult to replicate even with today's technology, and yet it was achieved by communities without written language, advanced machinery, or formal engineering knowledge. Its form communicates intention, skill, and cultural meaning, even when the exact purpose, ritual context, or method of construction remains hidden. It stands as both a physical and intellectual challenge to those who seek to understand it. As the sun dips behind the North Caucasus hills, casting long shadows over the mossy stones and forested valleys, Taverskoye Dolmen exudes a quiet, almost sacred presence. The wind stirs through the trees, carrying whispers of ceremonies, burials, and generations of human endeavor now lost to memory. Its enduring presence invites reflection on ingenuity, ritual, and the human desire to leave a lasting mark. And yet, as with all the sites we have explored, from Nemrut Dağ's monumental statues to Pentre Ifan's precarious capstone, the full story remains tantalizingly out of reach. Standing within the dolmen's shadow, surrounded by dense forest and the echo of centuries, one cannot help but wonder: how did the builders conceive, transport, and place these massive stones with such precision? What cultural, spiritual, or astronomical knowledge guided their design choices? And what secrets, now hidden beneath earth, moss, or lost memory, remain encoded in the stones themselves, waiting for those willing to observe, measure, and imagine beyond the visible? Taverskoye Dolmen endures not merely as a tomb or monument, but as a question cast in stone, a testament to human skill, intention, and enduring mystery. From the windswept plains of Russia's North Caucasus, where Taverskoye Dolmen rises silently amidst mossy, forested valleys, our journey now turns southward, across continents and towering mountain ranges, to the Andean highlands of Peru. Here, cradled within the verdant slopes and cloud-shrouded peaks near the Vilcabamba range, lies the Vilcabamba Stone Complex, an intricate assembly of terraces, stone platforms, and carved rock formations that speak of an advanced society capable of harmonizing monumental construction with rugged topography. Unlike the singular, balanced dolmens of Taverskoye or the colossal statues of Nemrut Dağ, Vilcabamba offers a landscape transformed, where architecture, ritual, and natural environment converge in ways both awe-inspiring and enigmatic. From a distance, the site appears as a series of terraces and angular platforms, carved directly from the mountainside. The stones themselves are massive, precisely cut, and interlocked without mortar, echoing the engineering seen in other Andean complexes. Pathways wind among the terraces, connecting distinct sectors that may have served domestic, ceremonial, or astronomical purposes. The irregular yet deliberate orientation of the structures suggests a knowledge of the terrain that allowed the builders to maximize stability while maintaining visual cohesion with the surrounding peaks and valleys. The effect is subtle yet profound, human intent rendered in stone, perfectly integrated with nature's contours. Vilcabamba's construction is widely attributed to the Inca or pre-Inca societies, flourishing between the 15th and early 16th centuries, though some evidence suggests earlier occupation and adaptation of the site. Historical records indicate that the Vilcabamba region was a stronghold during the final years of Inca resistance to Spanish conquest, yet the sophistication of the stonework and the precision of the terraces point to knowledge accumulated over generations. Beyond the defensive or administrative role suggested by some chronicles, the architectural mastery implies purposes that are less tangible, ritual, cosmological, or symbolic, that modern observers can only speculate about. The engineering of Vilcabamba is both practical and extraordinary. Stones weighing several tons were quarried, transported, and shaped to fit seamlessly into retaining walls, platforms, and ceremonial spaces. Channels for water management demonstrate an understanding of hydrology, ensuring stability and sustainability on steep, rain-soaked slopes. How were these massive stones maneuvered and positioned with such accuracy? Did the builders employ ropes, levers, inclined planes, or techniques lost to time? Experimental archaeology offers clues, yet few modern attempts fully capture the elegance and efficiency evident in the original construction. Terraces dominate much of the complex, carved with meticulous attention to both function and aesthetics. Some supported agriculture, while others may have had ceremonial significance, their elevation creating a sense of hierarchy, progression, or connection to the surrounding mountains. Certain platforms align with prominent peaks and valleys, suggesting potential astronomical observation or ritual timing. Could these terraces have been calibrated to mark solstices, equinoxes, or other celestial events? The interplay of terrain, orientation, and stonework hints at knowledge that transcended mere survival, blending practical engineering with spiritual or symbolic insight. The stones themselves reveal further mysteries. Many display precise angular cuts and surfaces that interlock without mortar, reminiscent of the famed masonry of Machu Picchu or Sacsayhuaman. In some cases, smaller stones fill gaps between larger slabs, creating a stability that has allowed the walls to withstand centuries of seismic activity and weathering. How did builders achieve such precision without advanced measuring tools? Were there standardized techniques, passed down through apprenticeships or embedded in cultural knowledge, that allowed for replication across such challenging terrain? Artifacts recovered at Vilcabamba provide partial context, yet much remains obscure. Pottery fragments, carved tools, and evidence of ceremonial offerings hint at domestic, ritual, and perhaps administrative activity. Yet the absence of extensive inscriptions or records leaves interpretation largely to observation of the architecture itself. Did the builders intend the terraces and platforms to communicate hierarchy, cosmology, or spiritual belief? Were the terraces agricultural, ceremonial, or a combination of both? How did the interplay of natural landscape and human construction shape the social and spiritual lives of those who lived here? The integration of Vilcabamba into its environment amplifies its enigmatic qualities. Pathways follow natural contours. Terraces mimic the slope of hillsides, and platforms align with vistas that frame mountains, valleys, and rivers. Such alignment suggests that visual, symbolic, or spiritual considerations were as important as practical needs. Could the positioning of certain terraces and structures have been designed to capture sunlight or shadow during specific times of the year, creating ephemeral effects visible only to the initiated? Were these alignments purely symbolic, or did they also serve practical or ceremonial purposes now lost to us? Some researchers have proposed more speculative interpretations. Could certain terraces have been observatories for tracking solar, lunar, or stellar events? Might carved stone features have been used for ritual, meditation, or spiritual communication? Could the site itself encode cosmological knowledge, embedding astronomical, agricultural, and spiritual information into its layout. While these interpretations remain conjectural, they highlight the complexity of Vilcabamba as a constructed environment that integrates technical skill, social organization, and cultural expression. Standing amid the terraces today, one feels the weight of human endeavor and the persistence of cultural memory. The stones speak not only of practical accomplishment, but of intent, an intention to transform the natural landscape into a space of meaning, reflection, and ritual. The combination of precision engineering, aesthetic harmony, and strategic placement conveys a level of sophistication that challenges modern assumptions about pre-Columbian construction techniques. How much knowledge was required to achieve this, and how much has been lost to time, erosion, and conquest? Vilcabamba, like Pentre Ifan, Taverskoye Dolmen, and done Carloway before it, challenges modern observers with feats of construction that remain difficult to replicate. Its stones, terraces, and platforms are tangible evidence of human skill, ingenuity, and vision, but they also preserve a profound mystery. How were these enormous stones transported and fitted with such precision? What spiritual, astronomical, or social functions guided the site's design? And how much knowledge has been irretrievably lost, leaving only the stones themselves as testimony to cultural sophistication? As the sun sets over the Vilcabamba Mountains, casting long shadows across terraces and platforms, the site takes on an almost ethereal presence. Mist drifts among the peaks, and the wind whispers through carved channels and stairways. It is easy to imagine ceremonies, offerings, or gatherings that occurred here, yet the precise nature of those activities remains elusive. Vilcabamba endures as both monument and mystery, a record of human ingenuity embedded in the Andes, yet speaking in a language only partially intelligible to us. Looking across the terraces and the rugged landscape beyond, one is struck by the duality of Vilcabamba, the precision and permanence of stone, and the elusive human story it encodes. Like all the unexplained sites we have explored, from Nemrut Dağ to Pentre Ifan, from Taverskoye to Talatí de Dalt, the complex leaves more questions than answers. How did its builders conceive, plan, and execute such a monumental project? What rituals, knowledge, or cosmological understanding shaped each stone, terrace, and platform? And what secrets, still hidden in plain sight or buried beneath centuries of earth and vegetation, await discovery by those patient enough to seek them? Vilcabamba endures not merely as a series of terraces and stones, but as a testament to human ingenuity, intention, and mystery, an invitation to ponder, explore, and imagine what ancient hands once achieved, and what remains tantalizingly beyond our reach. From the mist-shrouded terraces of Vilcabamba, where Andean ingenuity transformed mountains into monumental platforms of stone, our journey now returns across continents, back to the rolling green landscapes of Ireland. Here, in County Carlow, near the village of Carlowstown, lies Brownshill Dolmen, a prehistoric megalith whose massive capstone, seemingly suspended on a handful of upright stones, has stood for over 5 millennia, quietly defying both gravity and explanation. Unlike the sprawling terraces of Vilcabamba or the elaborate stone complexes of the Andes, Brownshill speaks through simplicity, proportion, and sheer audacity. A single stone of enormous weight, poised with remarkable precision, dominating the surrounding pastoral landscape with a silent, enduring authority. From a distance, Brownshill Dolmen appears deceptively unremarkable, a cluster of upright stones supporting a colossal slab. But as one approaches, the scale becomes impossible to ignore. The capstone is estimated to weigh between 100 and 150 tons, making it one of the heaviest prehistoric stones in Europe, and yet it rests upon 3 smaller uprights, with an almost imperceptible sense of balance. Shadows play beneath the overhang, creating an impression of the stone hovering in midair. It is at once simple and impossibly complex, a design whose elegance raises immediate questions. How did Neolithic builders move, lift, and position a slab of this magnitude without cranes, levers, or mechanical advantage, as we understand them today? Archaeologists date Brownshill Dolmen to the Neolithic period, roughly 3000 to 2500 BCE, situating it within a wave of megalithic construction that spread across Western Europe. Dolmens like this served primarily as burial chambers, often covered by earthen mounds that have since eroded or been removed. Excavations in similar structures have revealed human remains, pottery, and stone tools, suggesting that these sites functioned both as tombs and ceremonial spaces. Yet Brownshill, with its extraordinary capstone and precise construction, hints at something beyond the ordinary, a society capable not only of moving massive stones, but also of envisioning and executing structures that defy replication even with modern engineering knowledge. The engineering challenges are striking. The capstone is a single monolith, quarried, shaped, and transported to the site. Tasks that would have required immense manpower, coordination, and ingenuity. The uprights are carefully positioned to bear the load, yet the design allows for minimal contact points, creating a visually striking effect and ensuring structural stability. Could Neolithic builders have used earthen ramps, rolling logs, ropes, or a combination of techniques now lost to history? Or was there a system of knowledge embedded in cultural tradition, passed orally across generations, that enabled them to achieve feats that continue to baffle engineers today? The sighting of Brownshill Dolmen adds another layer of intrigue. The monument occupies a gentle rise, giving it prominence over the surrounding fields while remaining connected to the contours of the land. Some researchers have suggested alignments with astronomical events, such as solstices or equinoxes, though evidence is limited. Could the orientation have had ritual significance, linking the tomb to celestial cycles, agricultural rhythms, or spiritual beliefs? Or was the positioning primarily practical, balancing visibility, stability, and access to surrounding communities? The answer remains elusive, leaving us to ponder the intentions of builders whose worldview we can only partially reconstruct. The stones themselves reveal further mysteries. The capstone is a single massive slab of local rock, yet its underside has been carefully shaped to rest securely on the uprights. The uprights, though smaller, are proportioned and positioned with precision to distribute the immense weight, resisting both erosion and centuries of environmental stress. This precision demonstrates an understanding of mechanics, material properties, and structural balance that seems remarkable for the Neolithic era. Was this knowledge accumulated through generations of trial and observation? Or could there have been more sophisticated techniques and theories now lost to time? Artifacts and traces associated with Brownshill are minimal, yet suggest ritual or ceremonial activity. While few burials have been conclusively documented at this specific dolmen, comparable sites in Ireland contain human remains, cremation deposits, and offerings, indicating that these megaliths were centers of both mortality and cultural memory. Could the act of constructing such a monument itself have been a ritual, a deliberate demonstration of communal effort, social cohesion, or spiritual devotion? Perhaps the labor, coordination, and ingenuity required to raise the capstone were as meaningful as the tomb it created. Brownshill Dolmen also challenges modern replication. Moving and balancing a stone of this magnitude would require extraordinary coordination and effort, even with contemporary technology. Yet Neolithic builders achieved it with simple tools, human labor, and an intimate understanding of their environment. How did they visualize the final structure? How was weight calculated, balance achieved, and stability maintained? These questions highlight the enduring mystery. The dolmen is tangible and immovable, yet the knowledge behind its construction remains largely invisible, encoded only in stone. Some scholars have ventured speculative interpretations. Could the site have been part of a broader ceremonial network, aligned with other megaliths or natural features in the landscape? Might the dolmen have functioned as a marker of territorial claims, lineage, or cosmological observance? Were there symbolic or ritualistic considerations in the selection of the capstone, its placement, and its orientation? While these remain hypotheses, they underscore that Brownshill is more than a tomb. It is a message in stone, deliberate, enduring, and enigmatic. Standing beneath the immense capstone today, one is struck by a mixture of awe and humility. The stone dominates the senses, its weight and scale tangible, yet its meaning remains elusive. The monument communicates human skill, foresight, and intention, yet much of its cultural and spiritual context is lost to time. How did the builders organize labor, transport massive stone slabs, and ensure precise placement? How did they integrate practical, symbolic, and social functions into a single, enduring structure? And what knowledge, once shared across generations, has vanished, leaving only these silent stones as testimony? Like Vilcabamba, Taverskoye, Pentre Ifan, and Carloway before it, Brownshill Dolmen challenges modern assumptions about ancient capability. Its construction is difficult, perhaps impossible, to replicate using contemporary tools alone, and yet it was achieved thousands of years ago by a society with no mechanized technology. The monument demonstrates a mastery of materials, physics, and landscape integration that continues to inspire speculation and admiration. As the afternoon light filters through mist and clouds, casting elongated shadows beneath the capstone, the dolmen exudes a quiet authority. The wind sweeps across the fields, carrying whispers of ancient ceremonies, labor, and communal memory. Brownshill Dolmen stands as both a physical and intellectual puzzle, a reminder that human ingenuity, intention, and mystery are often inseparable. Looking out across the Carlow countryside from beneath the massive capstone, one cannot help but wonder, how was such a stone raised, balanced, and stabilized with such precision? What cultural or spiritual imperatives guided the construction? And what secrets, lost to centuries of soil, vegetation, and memory, remain hidden within the stones themselves, waiting for careful observation, contemplation, and imagination to reveal them? Brownshill Dolmen endures not merely as a prehistoric tomb, but as a question cast in stone, a silent testament to human ambition, skill, and mystery. From the windswept fields of Ireland, where Brownshill Dolmen balances its immense capstone with impossible precision, our journey now moves back across the Atlantic to the rugged highlands of Peru, to a place where stone, water, and ritual intertwine in ways that continue to baffle archaeologists. Chavín de Huántar. Nestled at the confluence of the Mosna and Wachexa rivers in the northern highlands, this ancient ceremonial complex rises amid steep Andean valleys. Its labyrinthine plazas, subterranean galleries, and carved monoliths hinting at a civilization whose engineering, artistic, and spiritual sophistication defy easy explanation. Unlike Brownshill's singular statement of balance, Chavín de Huántar speaks in complexity, layers, and hidden depths, inviting exploration both above ground and below. The approach to Chavín de Huántar is itself a lesson in human ingenuity and environmental mastery. From the riverbanks, one notices terraces cut into steep hillsides, interwoven with stone staircases and platforms. The site is framed by massive walls adorned with intricate reliefs, feline, avian, and anthropomorphic figures coiled and intertwined with symbolic motifs whose meaning remains elusive. The central plaza opens suddenly, revealing a network of galleries beneath stone floors, through which rivers of sound and water once flowed. These subterranean passages, carved with astonishing precision, allow for an acoustic phenomenon where a single voice or chant can reverberate throughout the complex, filling the space with an almost supernatural resonance. How did ancient builders conceive, plan, and execute such a feat without written blueprints or modern engineering tools? Chavín de Huántar is widely attributed to the Chavín culture, flourishing roughly between 900 and 200 BCE. The site functioned as a religious and ceremonial center, drawing pilgrims from across the region. Its architecture reflects a sophisticated understanding of materials, hydrology, and spatial organization. Stone platforms, plazas, and staircases demonstrate mastery of seismic stability in a region prone to earthquakes, while subterranean channels manage water flow in a controlled manner, suggesting both ritual and practical considerations. Yet, despite centuries of study, the full purpose of the site, its spiritual, astronomical, and social functions, remains a mystery. The artistry at Chavín de Huántar is equally compelling. Stone carvings, monoliths, and stelae depict deities and symbolic hybrids, jaguar human faces, serpent motifs, and intricate geometric patterns, often aligned with the flow of subterranean channels. The famous lanzon, a carved stone idol at the heart of the site, stands nearly 5 meters tall in a narrow gallery, framed so that sunlight and shadow highlight its features at certain times of the year. Could these alignments have been deliberate, linking celestial events, solstices, or agricultural cycles to ritual performance? Were these carvings intended as tools for initiation, communication, or social cohesion, or did they serve purposes now completely lost to memory? The construction itself invites further questions. Massive stone blocks, some weighing several tons, were quarried and transported across mountainous terrain, then shaped and fitted with remarkable precision. Doorways, platforms, and galleries exhibit both functional durability and aesthetic sophistication. The subterranean galleries are particularly puzzling, cut through solid rock, perfectly aligned, and designed to manipulate sound, airflow, and water. How did Chavín engineers calculate these dimensions? How were materials transported, placed, and carved with such precision, especially given the absence of metal tools for large-scale excavation? Was this knowledge empirical, passed through generations, or did it rely on a more systematic understanding of structural mechanics and acoustics now lost? Water plays a central role at Chavín de Huántar. Channels were carefully integrated into the architecture to create sound and movement, enhancing ceremonial experiences. During rituals, flowing water would reverberate through galleries, amplifying chants, drums, and instruments, creating an immersive, almost otherworldly environment. Could these hydraulic manipulations have been designed to induce altered states of consciousness, reinforcing spiritual or social hierarchies? Did the site serve as a medium for communication between the human and the divine, using sound, water, and stone to transcend ordinary perception? Artifacts discovered at the site further deepen the mystery. Finely crafted pottery, stone tools, and ceremonial objects reveal a culture with sophisticated artistic and ritual traditions. Yet the absence of written records leaves interpretation largely speculative. How were these objects used in the context of ceremonies? Were they offerings, instruments of initiation, or markers of social and spiritual hierarchy? Each artifact hints at complex cultural practices, but the precise intentions behind them remain hidden, lost to the passage of time. Chavín de Huántar also demonstrates an extraordinary integration of architecture, environment, and symbolic meaning. The terraces, galleries, and plazas correspond not only to human movement, but also to natural features, river paths, mountain ridges, and sun angles. Such careful calibration suggests a holistic worldview, in which landscape, ritual, and social order were inseparable. Could this knowledge have included elements of astronomy, medicine, or spiritual science? Was the design of the site intended to transmit encoded information to the initiated in ways that remain undecipherable today? Some scholars have ventured speculative theories. Could the acoustic properties of the subterranean galleries have served as part of initiation rituals, creating the perception of divine voices? Did certain carvings encode astronomical, mythological, or calendrical knowledge visible only under particular light conditions or during specific ceremonies? While these remain hypotheses, they underscore a fundamental point. Chavín de Huántar is both monument and mystery, its meaning embedded in the combination of engineering, art, and environment, rather than in written or spoken words. Standing within the shadowed galleries today, the visitor senses both awe and ambiguity. The stones, carved and positioned with deliberate intent, communicate human ingenuity, artistic vision, and ritual sophistication. Yet the precise purposes of the galleries, channels, and reliefs remain tantalizingly out of reach. How did Chavín architects conceive such a complex, harmonizing engineering, acoustics, hydrology, and symbolism? What rituals and spiritual experiences unfolded within these spaces, shaping the social and religious life of the culture? Like Brownshill Dolmen, Vilcabamba, Taverskoye, and other enigmatic sites, Chavín de Huántar challenges assumptions about ancient capabilities. Its construction is difficult to replicate even with modern tools, yet it was achieved thousands of years ago by a culture without formal mathematics or metal technology for large-scale construction. The site demonstrates mastery of material, sound, space, and symbolic communication, offering a glimpse of a society whose knowledge was both practical and transcendent. As sunlight filters through narrow gaps in stone and water channels, illuminating carved faces and creating shifting patterns of light and shadow, the complex seems alive, whispering secrets across millennia. The wind and river carry echoes of ritual, labor, and human presence that are now intangible, leaving only stone, water, and space to speak. Chavín de Huántar endures as a testament to human ingenuity, spiritual ambition, and the enduring mystery of what is possible when skill, vision, and devotion converge. From the terraces and galleries to the labyrinthine network of stone and water, one cannot help but wonder, how did the builders conceive, plan, and execute such a complex integration of architecture, acoustics, and hydrology? What rituals, astronomical knowledge, or spiritual practices guided the construction? And what remains hidden beneath stone, shadow, and sediment, waiting to be discovered by those patient enough to observe, measure, and imagine beyond what is visible? Chavín de Huántar endures not merely as an archaeological site, but as a question carved, channeled, and sculpted in stone, a mystery that continues to captivate and challenge our understanding of the ancient world. From the highlands of Peru, where Chavín de Huántar's labyrinthine galleries whisper with the echoes of ancient ritual, our exploration now returns once more to the British Isles, this time to the windswept moors of Cornwall. Here, scattered across a grassy slope near the village of St. Buryan, lies the Merry Maidens, a remarkable stone circle whose alignment, precision, and enduring presence have captivated scholars and visitors alike for centuries. Unlike Chavín's subterranean galleries or Brownshill's massive capstone, the Merry Maidens speak through repetition, rhythm, and landscape integration. 19 standing stones, each carefully positioned in a perfect circle, their silent testimony evoking both ritual and wonder. From a distance, the stones appear to rise naturally from the earth, yet as one approaches, the deliberate pattern emerges. The circle stretches across the moor, each monolith spaced with measured precision, ranging in height from 1.2 to 1.8 meters. The largest stones anchor the circle's perimeter, while smaller stones fill intermediate points, creating a rhythm that is both visual and spatial. Shadows stretch across the landscape at sunrise and sunset, occasionally forming fleeting alignments that suggest astronomical or calendrical purpose. How did Neolithic builders determine the exact spacing, orientation, and positioning of these stones without written plans or measuring instruments? Archaeologists date the Merry Maidens to the late Neolithic or early Bronze Age, approximately 2500 to 1500 BCE, situating them within a broader European tradition of megalithic circles. Excavations and nearby burials indicate that the site was not only ceremonial, but also tied to funerary practices, community gatherings, and seasonal observances. Yet, despite centuries of study, much about the circle's original function remains obscure. Were the stones markers of time and celestial cycles, sites of ritual performance, or symbols of social cohesion? Or perhaps they served all these purposes simultaneously, their meaning layered and fluid, understood only by those who built and used them. The construction of the Merry Maidens presents a fascinating challenge. Each stone was quarried, transported, and erected using Neolithic techniques, likely involving coordinated labor, wooden sledges, and earthen ramps. The precise placement and vertical alignment suggest careful planning and sophisticated understanding of weight, leverage, and geometry. How many hands were required to lift and maneuver each stone into position? Was there a standardized method, perhaps encoded in communal knowledge, or did each generation of builders innovate as they worked? And why choose a circle, a shape of perfect symmetry and infinite continuity, for this gathering of stones, rather than a linear or irregular arrangement? The site's location adds further layers of intrigue. Situated on a gentle rise amidst rolling Cornish moors, the circle is visible from surrounding valleys, yet isolated enough to suggest privacy or sanctity. Some researchers have proposed alignments with the midsummer sunrise or midwinter sunset, while others note relationships with nearby topographical features, including hills, streams, and other megalithic sites. Was this placement purely practical, or did it encode a spiritual or cosmological worldview, mapping the heavens onto the earth? The combination of precision and environmental sensitivity hints at a sophisticated understanding of landscape and orientation that remains difficult to fully reconstruct. The stones themselves hold subtle mysteries. Weathered and worn, their surfaces occasionally reveal faint cut marks and carvings, though erosion has erased many details. Were these marks symbolic, functional, or merely decorative? Could they have been part of rituals involving offerings, astronomical observation, or social initiation? The absence of extensive inscriptions leaves interpretation largely speculative, yet the very placement, proportion, and shape of the stones suggest deliberate intent, a language of stone whose grammar is lost to time. Artifacts found near the circle, including flint tools, pottery shards, and remnants of cremation, hint at ritualized activity. Some scholars suggest the site may have functioned as a calendar, a ceremonial gathering place, or even a locus for negotiation, governance, or social cohesion. Others propose that the circle served as a sacred theater, where human action, performance, and observation were intertwined. Could the circle have been designed to produce a psychological effect, with rhythm, symmetry, and scale inspiring awe, focus, or altered consciousness during ceremonies? The precise replication of such a circle presents another layer of mystery. Even with modern technology, achieving the spacing, alignment, and orientation of the Merry Maidens requires careful planning and understanding of measurement, proportion, and landscape. The Neolithic builders accomplished this using only human labor, observation, and possibly rudimentary tools. How did they translate celestial or ritual knowledge into physical space with such accuracy? And what cultural practices, social organization, or ceremonial imperatives made this achievement possible? Some researchers have ventured speculative interpretations. Could the stone circle have been aligned to track lunar cycles, solstices, or stellar risings? Might the circle have functioned as a communal ritual calendar, coordinating agricultural, religious, and social activities? Were the Merry Maidens intended to embody symbolic cosmology, connecting earth, sky, and community in a tangible, physical form? While definitive answers remain elusive, these possibilities underscore the circle's dual role as both monument and mystery, functional and symbolic, practical and transcendent. Standing within the circle today, one is struck by the interplay of human scale and cosmic ambition. The stones rise silently, their weathered surfaces and careful spacing communicating intent across millennia. The landscape stretches in all directions, revealing the subtle interplay of elevation, orientation, and horizon that the builders understood intuitively. Brownshill Dolmen, Vilcabamba, and Chavín de Huántar demonstrated extraordinary feats of construction and landscape integration, yet the Merry Maidens remind us that even modestly scaled monuments can encode precision, ritual, and meaning beyond immediate comprehension. The wind sweeps across the moor, rustling grass and whispering through the spaces between the stones. Shadows lengthen, emphasizing the circle's rhythm and geometry, highlighting alignments that may have guided ritual or observation. It is easy to imagine gatherings here, where communities watched, performed, and celebrated beneath the open sky, their actions framed by the enduring rhythm of stone. Yet the full story of the Merry Maidens remains tantalizingly out of reach. How did the builders conceive, plan, and execute this arrangement? What ceremonies or observances took place here, and how did participants perceive the alignment and form? Like Chavín de Huántar, Brownshill, Pentre Ifan, and other enigmatic sites before it, the Merry Maidens challenge modern assumptions about ancient capability. Its construction, spacing, and orientation are difficult to replicate even today, and yet it was achieved thousands of years ago by a society with no written records or mechanized technology. The circle demonstrates mastery of observation, labor, proportion, and social coordination, offering a glimpse of cultural sophistication that continues to inspire awe. As the sun sinks below the horizon, casting long shadows across the moor, the stones of the Merry Maidens take on a quiet, almost animate presence. The air seems charged with echoes of ceremony, labor, and memory, now intangible, yet palpably present. The circle endures as both monument and enigma, a spatial question in stone that invites reflection, observation, and imagination. Standing within the circle, looking across the symmetrical arrangement of stones and the rolling landscape beyond, one cannot help but wonder, how did Neolithic builders determine spacing, orientation, and alignment with such precision? What ceremonies, astronomical knowledge, or spiritual practices guided their design? And what secrets, hidden in the weathered surfaces, spatial rhythm, or surrounding landscape, remain waiting to be discovered? The Merry Maidens endure not merely as a prehistoric stone circle, but as a question cast in stone, a silent, enduring invitation to explore the capabilities, beliefs, and ingenuity of the ancient world. From the windswept moors of Cornwall, where the Merry Maidens stand in silent rhythm beneath the ever-shifting sky, our journey returns once more to the highlands of South America, to the shores of Lake Titicaca in Peru. Here, perched dramatically on steep promontories overlooking the shimmering waters, rises Sillustani, a funerary complex of towering cylindrical stone towers known as Chullpas. Unlike the balanced singularity of Brownshill Dolmen or the precise repetition of the Merry Maidens, Sillustani challenges perception through verticality, scale, and integration with the natural landscape, creating a vision that is at once architectural, ritualistic, and profoundly enigmatic. The first glimpse of Sillustani is striking. Rising from the rocky terrain, these cylindrical towers reach heights of up to 12 meters, their surfaces meticulously fitted with enormous blocks of andesite, cut to a line so perfectly that the seams are almost imperceptible. Each chulpa is a hollow tower, constructed to house the remains of noble individuals from the pre-Inca Kola culture, their bones and belongings once carefully placed within. The towers stand clustered atop promontories that overlook the lake, catching light in ways that change with the sun's movement, casting long shadows that enhance the sense of mystery and majesty. How did the builders quarry, transport, and assemble stones of such size and weight high above the lake, with techniques that seem almost impossible to replicate today? Sillustani is commonly dated to the late pre-Columbian period, approximately the 11th to 15th centuries CE. The Kola culture, contemporaneous with early Inca societies, chose this site not only for its strategic vantage, but also for its symbolic significance. Perched above the sacred waters of Lake Umayo, the towers form a visible testament to status, ritual, and memory. Yet the sheer precision of construction and placement raises questions beyond funerary function. Why cylindrical? Why some towers built of polygonal interlocking blocks, while others exhibit simpler masonry? What knowledge guided the builder's selection of stone, orientation, and structural integrity? The engineering of the chulpas is particularly remarkable. Stones weighing several tons were carefully cut, fitted, and stacked in near-perfect alignment. The polygonal stones interlock without mortar, creating towers resistant to seismic activity, a crucial consideration in the earthquake-prone Andes. The exact techniques used remain uncertain, though some researchers speculate the use of inclined ramps, levers, wooden scaffolds, or ingenious combinations of these methods. How did Kola builders calculate stability and load distribution with such precision? Could they have had empirical knowledge passed orally, or perhaps embedded in ritual practice that allowed for replication of such feats across multiple towers? The placement of the towers themselves is no less deliberate. Sillustani's chulpas cluster along natural terraces and rocky outcrops, aligned in relation to the lake, the mountains, and the horizon. Some scholars suggest astronomical alignments, proposing that certain towers mark solstices, equinoxes, or lunar cycles, while others may have been oriented toward distant mountain peaks or sacred lines of sight. Was the choice of location purely symbolic, a way to integrate the living landscape into the spiritual life of the dead, or did it serve practical purposes in defense, visibility, or territorial demarcation? The alignment of the towers hints at a sophisticated understanding of spatial relationships and cosmology that remains only partially understood. Inside the chulpas, the remnants of mummified bodies and funerary offerings suggest complex rituals surrounding death, status, and memory. The towers were reserved for the elite, reflecting social hierarchy and lineage, and may have functioned as both tomb and monument, projecting authority across generations. Yet the scale and precision of the construction suggest purposes beyond mere containment of remains. Could the towers themselves have been intended to communicate power, prestige, or spiritual significance to the surrounding landscape? Did the builders envision a dialogue between stone, sky, and water that reinforced cultural identity or cosmological belief? The stones themselves evoke further curiosity. Many exhibit polygonal faces, carefully interlocked in patterns that resist both seismic activity and erosion. The craftsmanship reflects deep knowledge of stone properties, weight distribution, and geometry. Was this knowledge empirical, honed over generations, or did it involve more systematic principles now lost to history? And why such precision for funerary towers, while other contemporary structures show less meticulous construction? The towers hint at cultural priorities that placed extraordinary value on permanence, visibility, and ritual resonance. Beyond engineering and symbolism, the relationship between Sillustani and its environment is striking. The towers interact with the contours of the hills, the reflective surface of Lake Umayo, and the shifting Andean light, creating a constantly changing visual and psychological experience. Could this interplay have been intended to influence ritual perception, guiding attention, awe, or contemplation? Did the reflective lake surface serve as a mirror, doubling the visual impact of the Chullpas and linking earth, water, and sky in symbolic resonance? Such considerations suggest an aesthetic and spiritual sophistication that transcends practical construction alone. Some researchers have proposed more speculative interpretations. Could Sillustani have encoded cosmological or calendrical knowledge using tower placement, height, and spacing to map the heavens or mark time? Might the polygonal masonry and precise stone alignment reflect a sophisticated understanding of mechanics and structural physics, developed empirically but applied with remarkable consistency? Could acoustic phenomena have been exploited within the towers or between them, similar to other Andean sites, to create ritualized soundscapes or communicate across distances? While these hypotheses remain unproven, they highlight the continuing enigma of Sillustani, a site whose tangible evidence of engineering, ritual, and cosmology invites deeper contemplation. Standing atop the promontories today, overlooking the lake and valleys below, one is struck by the interplay of permanence and mystery. The towers rise from the landscape with both authority and grace, monumental yet intimately integrated into the terrain. Wind sweeps across the stone, carrying echoes of labor, ceremony, and remembrance. The towers convey human skill, artistic vision, and cultural intent, yet their full purpose and method remain tantalizingly out of reach. How did the Kola builders coordinate such large-scale construction, achieve precise alignment, and integrate their work with topography, water, and cosmology? What cultural, spiritual, or astronomical knowledge guided the creation of these vertical monuments? Like the Merry Maidens, Brownshill Dolmen, and Vilcabamba, Sillustani challenges modern assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies. Its towers are difficult, perhaps impossible, to replicate even today with the tools and knowledge we possess, and yet they were achieved centuries ago by a culture without mechanized technology. The Chullpas demonstrate mastery of material, structural stability, spatial understanding, and landscape integration, offering a glimpse of a civilization whose knowledge was practical, symbolic, and profoundly sophisticated. As the sun dips behind distant peaks, casting long shadows across the towers and illuminating the polygonal masonry with golden light, Sillustani takes on an almost ethereal presence. The lake reflects the towers in fractured, shimmering images, merging earth, stone, and water in a moment suspended between reality and perception. The site endures as both monument and mystery, an enduring record of human ingenuity and intention, yet a puzzle whose full meaning remains just beyond reach. Looking across the terraces, towers, and lake, one is left with profound questions. How were such enormous stones transported and precisely positioned? What rituals, spiritual practices, or cosmological knowledge guided their construction? And how much understanding has been lost to time, leaving only these towering Chullpas to hint at the ingenuity, vision, and devotion of their creators? Sillustani endures not merely as a collection of stone towers, but as a monumental question posed across millennia, a silent testament to human capability, cultural ambition, and the enduring allure of the unexplained. From the high-altitude shores of Lake Titicaca, where Sillustani's Chullpas rise like silent sentinels over water and valley, our journey now drifts westward across the Mediterranean Sea, to the rugged and windswept island of Minorca. Here, on a low limestone plateau surrounded by scrub and wildflowers, stands Naveta des Tudons, one of the most enigmatic and enduring monuments of the Balearic Islands. Unlike the towering verticality of Sillustani or the precise circular rhythm of the Merry Maidens, the Naveta captures attention through its horizontal mass, its curving stone walls, and the way it seems to emerge organically from the earth itself. From a distance, the structure resembles a ship resting on a gentle rise, its rounded, trapezoidal form rising just above the surrounding terrain. The stones of its construction are massive, roughly hewn blocks of local limestone, carefully stacked to create walls that taper inward as they ascend, forming a roofless chamber that has stood for over 3,000 years. The careful fitting of stones, the scale of the masonry, and the audacity of its design suggest a level of architectural knowledge that seems almost incongruous with the presumed technological capabilities of its builders. How did the Talayatic people of Minorca move, lift, and precisely place stones weighing several tons without the aid of pulleys, cranes, or written plans? Naveta des Tudons is widely recognized as a burial monument, part of the Talayatic culture that flourished on Minorca between roughly 1000 and 500 BCE. Excavations in the 20th century revealed the remains of dozens of individuals, many accompanied by simple grave goods such as pottery, bronze ornaments, and bone implements. The bones were arranged in ways that suggest careful ritual practices rather than haphazard interment. Yet, beyond its funerary function, the design of the Naveta itself raises questions about intent, symbolism, and the sophistication of its construction techniques. Why choose this particular trapezoidal form? Was it purely functional, a method to support massive stone blocks and resist collapse, or did it also carry cosmological or symbolic significance? The engineering of the Naveta is remarkable. The walls are composed of large limestone slabs, placed in precise courses without mortar, tapering inward toward the top in a corbelled arrangement that supports the roof and creates a stable, enduring structure. The entrance is narrow, intentionally controlled, guiding movement into the interior chamber. How did the builders determine the optimal angles for stability? What methods allowed them to hoist and wedge stones so securely? And why does the structure remain intact after millennia of exposure to wind, rain, and seismic shifts that have claimed less careful constructions elsewhere? The interior of the Naveta is equally intriguing. Once the resting place for multiple individuals, the chamber measures approximately 12 meters in length, 5 meters wide, and over 3 meters in height. The space conveys both enclosure and monumentality. It is intimate enough to suggest ritual interaction, yet monumental enough to impress with its scale and solidity. Human remains recovered here indicate not only burial practices, but also possibly communal rites. Were these collective interments designed to reinforce social cohesion or lineage memory? Did the act of building the monument itself serve as ritual, a tangible expression of cultural and spiritual identity? The site's location adds another layer of mystery. Positioned on a plateau overlooking fertile valleys, the Naveta is both prominent and visible from a distance, yet sheltered enough to protect its contents. Its placement may have had symbolic significance, perhaps marking territorial boundaries, or aligning with natural features such as sunrises or mountain peaks. Some scholars suggest the orientation may have been deliberate, creating a connection between the living landscape and the spiritual realm of the dead. Could the Talayatic builders have incorporated knowledge of solar or lunar cycles into the design, embedding an astronomical calendar into the very stones of the Naveta? The stones themselves offer further intrigue. Many are carefully shaped to fit tightly against one another, with subtle adjustments to counteract settling and erosion. The largest stones, particularly those forming the base and sides, demonstrate remarkable understanding of weight distribution and structural integrity. Did these builders rely on trial and error passed through generations, Or might there have been a more systematic method to measure, test, and position each stone? The precision suggests an intimate knowledge of masonry, geometry, and load-bearing principles that challenges assumptions about prehistoric engineering. Artifacts and human remains recovered from the site hint at ritual and social organization, but leave much to speculation. Were the interments accompanied by ceremonies, offerings, or acts of remembrance that have left no trace? Did the Talatí culture view the Naveta as a bridge between the living and the dead, or as a marker of social hierarchy and ancestral veneration? The dual nature of the site, as both functional burial chamber and enduring monument, complicates attempts to fully interpret its purpose. Naveta des Tudons also confronts modern observers with the difficulty of replication. Moving and placing multi-ton stones into a corbelled structure of this scale would be challenging even with contemporary technology. Yet it was achieved millennia ago by a culture without cranes, pulleys, or written architectural plans. How did the Talatí people organize labor, plan the sequence of construction, and maintain structural stability throughout the process? Could some methods or principles have been lost entirely, leaving only the enduring stones as testimony to human ingenuity? Speculative interpretations abound. Some researchers propose that the trapezoidal shape reflects a cosmological worldview, echoing the contours of nearby hills or aligning with the trajectory of the sun. Others suggest that the monument may have been part of a network of sites marking spiritual or social boundaries across the island. Were there acoustic or environmental considerations, perhaps related to ritual performance, that influenced the orientation and shape of the chamber? While these remain hypotheses, they underscore the continuing allure of Naveta des Tudons as a monument whose practical and symbolic aspects are inseparable. Standing before the Naveta today, one is struck by the interplay of permanence, scale, and mystery. The trapezoidal silhouette rises effortlessly from the plateau, blending with the limestone landscape even as it asserts human intention and skill. The wind whistles across the plateau, brushing against the carefully fitted stones, carrying whispers of labor, ritual, and memory. The monument communicates both practical engineering knowledge and spiritual ambition, yet the full story of its builders and the meaning embedded in its stones remains tantalizingly out of reach. Like Sillustani, the Merry Maidens, and Brownshill Dolmen before it, Naveta des Tudons challenges modern assumptions about ancient capability. Its construction is difficult to replicate even today, and yet it was achieved thousands of years ago by a culture whose technology and resources were comparatively simple. The monument demonstrates mastery of material, geometry, and landscape integration, offering a glimpse into a worldview that was simultaneously practical, ceremonial, and symbolic. As sunlight casts long shadows across the plateau, illuminating the subtle taper of the walls and the rough textures of limestone, Naveta des Tudons takes on a presence that is both commanding and contemplative. Its enduring silhouette invites reflection on the ingenuity, vision, and ambition of its builders. How were the massive stones quarried, shaped, transported, and precisely positioned? What ceremonies, rituals, or social imperatives guided the construction? And what knowledge, now lost, allowed a prehistoric culture to conceive, plan, and execute a structure that continues to inspire awe and wonder? The Naveta remains not merely a burial chamber, but a question carved in stone. Its walls, carefully placed and enduring, challenge us to consider the interplay of human skill, intention, and mystery. What is visible, the stones, the chamber, the plateau, is only part of the story. What lies hidden in memory, ritual, or lost techniques may never be fully known. Naveta des Tudons endures as a monument and a puzzle, a silent testament to human capability and the enduring enigma of prehistoric architecture, inviting all who stand before it to wonder. What secrets have these stones kept for over 3 millennia, and how much more remains hidden, waiting for those patient enough to observe, measure, and imagine beyond what is seen.